All right, we're live. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the studio. Slightly different setup today. I'm going to be recording on a couple of cameras here. Tamara, I'm counting on you to remind me of when to hit the record button. I've got palette cam and wide shot as well. Exciting project to share with you today. Oh, I cannot wait. Man, you know what? I'm excited about this one, but I'm even more excited because there's something else going on in the background. Today, a little bittersweet, but again, I'm so filled with excitement because here's what's happening today. Let me know, by the way. Hey, Robin, how are you? Let me know, by the way. Can you see and can you hear me? Is everything good? Loud and clear. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. So this is my last day painting in this studio. My last day. I'm done. And if you're new here, if you haven't heard, if you haven't seen my posts, if you haven't gotten my emails about this, if you're new to the Academy, if you've never heard me mention this before, you might have seen that studio video that I put out recently. And it's like, dude, you just got here. You've been in this studio a year. You spent all this time, all this money getting this thing friggin' set up, and now you're leaving. Yes, I am. I saw an opportunity, I saw an open door, and I friggin' ran through it, dude. I ran through it, and I'm really excited about the next chapter. We're picking up this entire operation, and we're moving it to Wanaka. Now, if you're not in New Zealand, if you've never been here before, that might not mean anything to you, but Wanaka is just one of the nicest postcodes in this country. It's my favorite spot in this country. It's my favorite spot on the planet, and my favorite subject of all time, the Matukituki Valley, is just down the road from Wanaka. I cannot wait. So we're starting again. I've got the commercial space, lease signed. I pick up the keys soon. It's a beautiful big building. It's brand new, but it's about the size of this space, and we get to divide it into a studio, into a gallery. I've got my team that's coming with me. They're gonna set up that media operation there. It's just, cannot wait. And I'm excited to share it with you. I'm gonna be bringing you all along. Now, this is the last live stream, not only from the studio, but the last live stream for the next month. Because obviously I gotta pack everything down and then set everything up. I will be setting up a home studio. And so there's a good chance that the gallery and the studio is not gonna be ready in a month's time. So I'll be doing some live streams and some paintings from my home studio. So I'll be setting that up very, very soon. So you're not going to miss much, but the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be out of action while we set all this stuff up. But there's going to be content that we're going to continue to upload because we've got a little bit of a backlog squirreled away, stuff to share with you. So that's my news. Exciting times indeed, Ash Kennedy. And wow, the chat is blowing up this morning. Absolutely blowing up. It's awesome to see. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome. So if you're new here, I want to hear from you. Say good day. Let me know where you're from, and just do me a favor, hit in 3 capital N's in that chat for new. That way my eyeballs on this screen, I can see you and I can shout you out and say good day. And let me know if you're Pumpkin Smasher 72. Let me know your name is Alex and you're from Minnesota or whatever. Okay. So say hello. Don't be shy. Terry Hirsch with a question. Do you have lots of paint? Do you have lots of paint to paint Wanaka? Yeah. Terry. Oh, okay. I love this. I'm not a fan of doing this kind of thing. What did I do with the dang box? Here it is. I don't get into. I mean, I've fallen for it a couple of times. You know the internet gimmicks. I got stuff in the mail and now I'm gonna unbox it. Kind of lame type deal. You know what I mean? It's garbage, but I did receive a box of the best. And I was like, Eric, hook me up, man. I need some help. And I'm very upset right now with Mr. Scott Holiday over there in Alaska. Scott, I'm so upset. Here, Flemish white. I got some Flemish white. I've never tried Flemish white. It's a lead-based white. I got a couple of tubes of Crimnitz here. I told him, hey dude, I love this nickel yellow deep so much. You gotta send me a big tube. Look what he sent me. Big tube of nickel yellow. So I'm gonna be busting out some new paints. Flemish white, new lead white, linseed oil. The reason I'm upset with Scott from Alaska, I love him, but I'm upset with him, is because he makes probably some of the nicest lead white I've ever used, and I've only got this little piddly little bit left in the tube. It's all gone. And there's a stringy quality to it. I'm going to be talking to you about it in the Larch Thicket demonstration. Also, the autumn scene of Ardrossan Street. You might have seen me post that on Instagram. And the reason I'm upset is Scott made this white. It's so beautiful. I only got a little bit of it, and it took me a little while to unlock how I could use that. And it handles so differently, so weird. But as soon as I got the technique down for how I could apply this, it became quickly one of my favorite paints that I've used in years. And now I don't have any more of it. So I'm upset. I want more. You'll love Flemish White, says Bill Hamilton. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to trying it. So I got a fair bit of paint in this box. It's a heavy box. Let me tell you, this Flemish White, this weighs like 3 times what a tube of titanium white would weigh. All right, I'm going to get out some color here. Let's go ahead and have a look at the wide shot of what we're working on today. Now I'm not clipping the canvas. That's actually the top of the canvas right there. But let's go ahead and get our cameras set up here. There we go. Now you can see me. And got our palette camera. G'day, Don. How are you? From Mexico. Welcome, Don. Welcome to the studio. Pleasure to have you here. Got a question here from Crystal. You mentioned switching to Gamsol a while ago. How's that going? Still like it? Love it, Crystal. They stopped selling pure gum turpentine here in New Zealand. And, you know, Rachel would always say to me when we'd go to the hardware store, she's like, why do you need another bottle of pure gum turpentine? You've got one. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm stocking up. I'm a bit of a prepper, but I'm probably doing it wrong because I hoard oil paint, brushes, and solvents. I probably should be doing beans and rice, right? But no. Yeah, cheers. So Gamsol, interesting. It's going well, but it's it handles a little bit weird. I like that it doesn't have a smell to it, but doesn't mean it's fumeless. It just doesn't have much of a smell. It really does a good job cleaning out the brushes, but it does seem to make the brushes stiff if you're not doing an extra step of adding some sort of conditioner. Now, I like this stuff here. This stuff here, Art Spectrum Brush and Hand Cleaner. There you go, right there. So brush and hand cleaner. Now this gear right here is a beautiful waxy oil, and I'll take a stiff old brush. Here's one I prepared earlier. I'll get a little bit of this this gear out on the end of the brush, just like so. Now have a look. You might be able to get something similar. Ben Della Barca, my buddy Ben from Wellington, soon to be another instructor on the academy here, does beautiful portrait work. Ben was telling me about Da Vinci brush soap. Now I just use a lid and I just work that in there, get it all the way up into the ferrule, flatten that brush out, flex those bristles, and then I'll set that brush aside. I'll leave it for, you know, a few days, and that will condition that brush and soften it beautifully. Just lay it down flat and come back to it later. Good stuff. I really do like this brush and hand cleaner. Very, very nice. So the Gamsol has a tendency, it kind of dries out your brushes a little bit. They go a bit crusty after a while, but if you add that extra step, you get them nice and clean, but they keep nice and soft too. Art Supply Hoarder here too, says Marley's. Yeah, we're cut from the same cloth there. Have you used egg whites as a medium before, like the old masters? Camille, that's a great question. You know, I was just I was away for a couple of days. I had a few meetings up in the North Island. And I went, I took a couple of friends of mine to the public art gallery, and my buddy Dana has never he's never been to an art museum before, and it was blowing his mind. He's like, so that painting's really old, right? I said, yeah, dude, that's like a Renaissance painting, or that's probably, you know, it's probably 1400s, 1500s. He's like, no, there's a thing that's that old. I'm like, yeah, man. And he was like, oh, so they all oils or acrylics? Like, what are they? They said, well, some of them would even be egg tempera, you know, egg on board, on panel. It's like, whoa, you could do, it's like, it was mind blowing. It was cool to see somebody experiencing art at that level for the first time. It was really neat. But you reminded me of that. Egg tempera, I have not used it ever. I'm keen to try, after my conversation with John Darley on the podcast, very keen to try that at some stage. Who is not an art supply hoarder, says Phillips. Yeah, get out of here. You can't roll with us. The thing I'm most excited about, though, is this. I love this color. Have y'all been using Hansa? Y'all been using Hansa yellow? Now let me know if I'm coming through okay. I've got the other screen open just to make sure I've got good exposure. So if it looks too bright, too dark, too weird on the colors, let me know and I'll just set up my cameras. By the way, those drips of oil, let it go ahead and drip. Don't worry, it's all good. So I'll go through all of my colors and tell you what I'm using here. But as I said, I'm very, very excited about some of these new ones. QQQ from Nikki, is there any way to save a brush that's hardened like concrete? Yeah, exactly that way that I just showed you, Nikki. I would highly recommend. Now, there is a more aggressive approach, but you do stand a chance of ruining your brush. But I've done it before and brought a brush back to life, but it's dangerous. It's like having to get an operation that's like, it could kill you. I mean, this one could kill the brush. It could kill the brush. And that is using acetone, but beware, you only want to do that with animal hair brushes, not with your synthetics. It will melt your synthetics. But it's really not a nice way to go. I would recommend just using a product like that brush and hand cleaner. Another way, if you don't have access to that, I've heard of people using coconut oil with great effect. So you could try coconut oil. That could work. Let me just turn this heater off because I'm flying solo here. It's Saturday here in New Zealand. And I don't have my team with me, so I can't yell at them to make me coffee or turn off heaters. And why else should you have a team except to yell at them, right? I quite enjoy being abusive here in the studio. No, not really. I'm blessed. I've got some wonderful guys working for me. And gals. Right. You can boil in white vinegar. Acacia, I have never heard of that before. I have never heard of that before. That is interesting. Murphy's oil soap for several days and it worked, says Lori. Good idea. It just makes your kitchen stink, says Acacia. Okay. Murphy's oil soap is really stupid. I need to get my hands on some Murphy's oil soap. Thanks for the tip. I have not tried that before. This is a US thing, right, Bill and Lori? So I'm wondering, can somebody mail me some? Hey? Please, was I allowed to nearly copy paint your icy river cascade? Of course you're allowed. Of course you're allowed. Aren't you? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I do what I do. You are most welcome to copy and paint paintings from the tutorial. You can sell those paintings. You can put it out there on social media. If you want to follow a demonstration and make it your own, like you've done, Ant, you haven't copied it exactly. You've made it your own. And I think you even tagged me in the post. I mean, so that's the only thing I'm going to ask is that you tag me in the post and you let people know, where you learned techniques or what inspired you. That's the only thing. And I'm going to say this. That's more now for your benefit because you probably will at some stage get people going, hang on a second, I think I saw this on Tischler's page, and you just want to avoid people giving you a hard time for something that was a demo or a lesson. So it's more for your benefit to kind of protect you. But I'm cool. I as long as you're tagging me in the post and you say, hey, shout out to Tish, I'm cool. That's our deal. Same with the reference, so you're all good. The beginning of this painting, Linda Davidson, is in the Livestream library. I started it over there, but I've been filming modules for this, so I'm just kind of bringing you along. We're going to be releasing a full tutorial. Now, I had Terralina ask me so many times about the Autumn Road, and I think she was wound up about, hey, where's this autumn road coming in? And so I've been filming demos in the background. So that's coming too. So a lot of these, I'll start projects here on live streams, keeping it fresh, keeping it exciting, doing lots of different stuff, as you know. And then we'll go ahead and cut it as a tutorial. So I hope that's okay. Now I've got 3 whites. All right, how am I going to remember this? T to the left, time left, C for Kremnitz, and F in the middle, Flemish in the middle. Give me a way to remember that, please. So I'll put Flemish right in the middle. Here we go, busting out the Flemish for the first time. Oh, buttery. I can already see that it looks very transparent. I like it. I should not have gotten out that much. This looks absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's get it out next to the Kremnitz. You know I love me the Kremnitz. Very oily, but oh my goodness. Love that transparent color right there. By the way, if you're new here, I dole out my paint. Always wearing gloves. Protect your skin. We're using real lead, real cobalt, real cadmium. So always wear protective gloves when you're dishing it out. Because you'll notice on my fingers, I got little bits of paint here. That's lead. I don't want that on my skin. Prolonged exposure to this stuff can have an effect. So you just want to make sure you're being sensible, you're being safe, and just protect yourself, yeah? All right, where's my transparent oxide? Transparent yellow oxide, please. There we go. Transparent yellow, transparent red. We're going to use a little bit of this, and I think today we're going to rock out with a little bit of burnt umber as well. We'll go through the colors one by one. Now, who saw the first part of Larch Thicket, our demonstration in the library? Just uploaded this week. I got part 2 coming your way next week. Did you enjoy that? You might have seen the small version in the library, in the landscape library already. I've uploaded that. Wow. Gosh, I think it's been over a year since we uploaded that one. I must have done that in the old Marlborough studio. But I've been really wanting to do that bigger. I might give you a sneak peek towards the end of this live stream. I've got it over on the ground over there. And a little bit of liquid impasto. I'm excited to share with you some techniques today. We're going to be playing with some stuff, and I hope. Again, it's Saturday here in New Zealand. My team is off. They've earned their weekend, and so I can't ask Jim Fairburn for anything during this live stream. I'm on my own. I'm literally on my own. So I don't know if there's reference that's attached to this live stream. Maybe some of y'all can let me know if you have access to the reference. If you do not, I will work out how to get that reference to you first thing Monday. All right, so just stay tuned. You should have access to the reference from the previous live stream where I did this one. Just have a look, scroll back, find the thumbnail. I'm just using a wet wipe, by the way, just to get that paint, that residue off my fingers. That's just so I can reuse these gloves, and all good. These painting wipes are phenomenal. Absolutely love them. So these are specifically, I didn't know they did these. I've been mucking around using baby wipes all this time. Why? This is cleaning wipes specifically for painting and mechanics and oil and brushes and glue and solvents and various things. So good gear. Really good gear. All right. I don't know what kind of effect it's going to have on the drying time of my oils on the palette. So I make sure that I get any residue from that. If I'm cleaning my palette off with one of those wipes, I get any residue off with a paper towel. Oh yeah, here we go. QQQ. Hey, just 3 Qs there, Camille. Settle down, bro. Is everything recording? Not yet, bro. Not yet. It's coming. All right, let me go ahead and hit record here on these cameras. Before we do, though, before I hit record, I want to go over here. I want to share my screen with you for a second. And let's go over to this one, and let me just share with you some of the reference material that I'm looking at here. This is what I got on my iPad. And what I'm loving, and what I really want to try and capture with a few of these tree paintings is a sense that you're there with the trees. We're not looking at the whole tree, but we're amongst the trees. So it's trying to find a composition that leads us on this trail, on this story, through the forest. And that's what this particular painting's about. Now this photograph was taken in Lawrence, and it's one of the trails that my wife and I really love to take. But what I love is roots and the structure of the way the tree is interacting with the plane that it's growing out of, and how those roots, you know, when they're coming towards you, these cylindrical forms that change direction. I want to create some of that three-dimensionality, lead the viewer in, using roots as one of the strategies. So I got some various reference here. Again, those three were all Lawrence. This one too. And then here, this is further down in the South Island. So you get trees like this out in the Matukituki Valley. This is what native New Zealand forest looks like. What I really love is the open understory. Like there's nothing much growing on the ground, because you just get this complete block out of any of that light coming through. The canopy is just so thick. So there's some ideas here that I'm looking at. What I love is the moss. I love old broken logs, branches, boughs, sticks. But you know, the thing I really love, which I'm always drawn to, you know this, is light. How do we capture a sense of light? Yeah, I'll take random photographs like that. Who the heck would take a photograph like that or be drawn to something like that? Why take that photograph? Well, for me, that's a moment in a painting. And I was thinking about that going, wow, imagine you could just shine a little bit of a spotlight like this on a particular area in a painting, add a bit of interest, but look at the softness and the changes of textures from those dried old beech leaves, as well as some of those broken sticks. And then how suddenly you just get this pop of green and this warm-cool combination as well. How could you add that to a painting to add interest? And look at the depth of the tone, that deep value that's in the shadow of some of those logs. Now, I geek out about this stuff, and I try to figure out how can I incorporate this in a painting to make it more interesting. So I don't really photograph scenes, although some of these were very nice. I really liked some of these, and I love the idea of the path through the forest. So this is on a trail headed up towards Glacial Burn, if you remember that little painting. This is a trail while you're still in the forest. Eventually you get outside of that tree line. But I love these little paths. So this is what I am inspired by here. That moment of light right there, just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. Let's go back to our painting here. And there, where's my button? There's my button. Okay. And so today we're just going to be working in a little area. I'm thinking about just working here, playing with some of the new colors, just creeping my way along. No real strategy in mind, but there is something compositionally here that's bugging me. I like the structure of the trees. I have seen some of these trees lean, but there's something about this leaning tree that I'm not terribly thrilled with. And I'm thinking about taking that tree and chopping them down, maybe having another stump sticking out, and then adding another third tree with this grouping right here. Maybe join these two together, have a third tree there, just to thicken that up. That will get rid of some of the evenness here, 1, 2, 3. So one thing we want to avoid is we don't want these distances to be the same through our painting. And I have the tendency to do that, to create that order and pattern. But it might not be bugging you, but it was just something that was bugging me. It's like looking at it going, there's something about that. Samuel Earp, artist, is in the house. Now I'm nervous. Good morning, brother. How are you? Your reference reminds me of Missouri. My favorite walking trail, says Scott. Awesome. Forest and trees are my special subjects to paint. Awesome, aren't you? Awesome. Greetings from Spring Lake. Hello, Brian. How are you? Okay, can someone please iterate how to use Murphy's oil soap? Christina, Lori's got you. She's answered your question there. Okay, so again, excited to try some of these colors. This is, gonna geek out. Samuel Earp, Flemish White in the house from Blue Ridge. I'm gonna try some new lead white from Eric. Well, new, it's just I haven't used it before. Now the other thing that I want to be using today, and I might start off with this, are these fan brushes. Now I got a couple here. One of them is a little bit nicer than the other one, but they're kind of fugly, right? I'm going to go ahead and turn on my camera here, and let's go ahead and hit that record button. There we go. Recording on that one, and are we focused here? Let me just double check. So these fan brushes, what I love about them is the flex that you can get with those bristles. They load the brush, they load up in a really interesting way, but they deposit paint in such a random, messy, haphazard way that it can really lead to some cool painterly texture effects. And I'm loving paint texture at the moment. I'm playing more and more with paint texture. I'm gonna have to make a special video just about some of these paintings that I saw up in Auckland just day before yesterday. Special video about some of this textured surface I was seeing. It was unreal. It just was like, man, I gotta be using some more paint. More paint, more texture. Now, adding stuff to your paint can really help. That liquid impasto really helps to add to the body of the paint. QQQ from Camille. Again, if you got a question, add 3 capital Qs at the start, and I will see your question, just like what Camille's done here. Is lead white only for, is the only other transparent white, not mention zinc for obvious reasons? As far as I know, I think that's the case, Camille. I don't know about nickel, because I think nickel might be semi-opaque. It's sitting somewhere in the middle. What gives me that impression is my nickel yellow that I've now added to my palette. Hi from Algeria. Hello, Rach. How are you? Fugly brushes they are, Peter. Peter Zeller in the house. How are you, Peter? How's your work going? What museum were you at, Andrew? I'm in Auckland next weekend. Just a public art museum. I went into their International Historic Art section, and they got some beautiful paintings, some gorgeous Rayburn portraits. They put all their Goldie away, Andrew. Can you? This is what they did to us in Christchurch. Remember? No one puts Goldie in the basement. Why would you do that? He's the best painter in New Zealand, and I think one of the finest portrait painters of all time. He's one of my favorite portrait painters. Massively underrated. I think he was brilliant. But they had heaps of Lindauer, and I'm like, Lindauer. He didn't have it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my fellow New Zealanders, if you love Lindauer, that's all good. We can still be buddies, but Goldie's where it's at, man. I mean, Lindauer pales in comparison. Goldie's where it's at. It's just, he knew what's up. Fine painting, beautiful portraits. That's my jam anyway. What am I doing right now? I am just adding a little bit of liquid original to this surface, just a little bit. I'm thinking about working on this trunk today. I'm thinking about working with some of this foliage back here. And so I'm just adding a little bit of liquid original just to saturate the surface. I'm applying this with a Series 274 flat brush. Very soft brush. And it's not about getting a really soaked surface with lots of slippery liquid over the top. But it's about a thin layer just to key in, and so now that next layer is going to stick a little bit better. Now, if you're worried about any excess medium, just go ahead and do that. Just rub that down with a paper towel wherever you're applying. You can see any excess coming off on that paper towel. Notice a little bit of a stain there. So it's not bad. But that just means my surface is ready I'm going to get out this fan brush. Do I have another fan? Yeah, let's get out this fan brush too. That's a nice one. Here's an old one from my Aussies, Monty Mart. I bought that back in Perth, gosh, about 15 years ago. So let's bust out the Flemish white. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Ooh. Ooh. Very nice. So today in this demonstration, it's going to be only fans. I mean, I don't clip that. That's not what I meant. It's not that kind of live stream. But I'm only going to be using some fan brushes. I realized how that sounded as soon as it left my mouth. So, sorry. So a little bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of transparent yellow oxide. Here with the native New Zealand forest, the transparent yellow and red oxide does something about earthing our greens. It makes them more warm, rich, a little more natural, and it does actually desaturate. We want a desaturated green. I'm having an issue with layering, resulting in a dullish color. So, Romy, what we're doing is we're doing a we're going dull on purpose here. I'm actually wanting to dull this down and go for something desaturated. Now, this tree here, I wanted to break it off. I might just do something. This is sometimes what I do as a note to myself. Let's go ahead. Let me give you a close cam. Let's go close cam, all right? Here we go. I'm just gonna focus my other close Canon here. Here we go. Bam! And there we go. Now there we go. So you can just see this little section of forest. So that's where we're gonna be working. I'm gonna get this reference out the way so we can see it a little bit better. Reduce that. You can see what I'm looking at there. I'll go on. I'll keep it down here. There you go. So hopefully you can see enough. But I want this to be relatively dull, and I want to have little crisp bits of green coming through just here and there. The trouble with trying to get colors to look more and more intense is that if the painting is too rich, too intense, too saturated, and there's too much high chroma, high key color all over your painting, you've got no point of comparison. You've got to key it down and save those bright, heavy chromatic moments for only key areas. I see a lot of artists, even professionals, go way too saturated in their colors. So what I want to do here in the beginning is purposely dull it down, tamp it down. Now, why on earth would I mix a magenta that looks like that? Well, this is going to be a beautiful color that will help complement some of our greens, but I use this as a note to myself. Now, I've got a tree stump over there, but I think I want to have another one right here, as I was saying. So I'll just put in another tree stump right there. So I'll just make a bit of an outline of where I want to work towards. There might be a little pop of green just showing through it, maybe a little branch that's just come off the side. They can be weird shapes. And then over on this other side, I'm using a bit of Flemish white for that. Over on this other side, I think that other tree is going to lean up against there, come all the way off the top. We'll break it up in a couple of places. And I think that will fix it. I think that will fix it. Hello from Saudi Arabia. Hello, Nora. How are you? Can I do that at any step of the painting? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's never too late to go back in and fix it. It's never too late to continue to work on your painting. And this is what I do continually. You know, the beauty of oil paint is that you can always work over the top. You can always add more and more and more. So I got some pretty intense colors there in the distance. I'm going to be using some Hansa and some nickel, but again, that intensity, let's not get it twisted. I'm going to be tamping it down again. So this is a dull kind of yellow color. I've got a lot of white out on my fan brush. I'm just going to go straight through that tree trunk like it was never even blooming there. And I want to see, I might have to get up out of the stool and check from a distance. I want to see if that's going to have the effect. Already I'm happy with that composition. Already. Lori, am I on the right track? Let me know. I don't know about you, but that did something for me. Let's just step back, have a quick look. Yeah, that opened it up. Now I want to go down that path. There was something about that tree that was just blocking me. So the thing about oils, particularly if you're using alkyd resins, but you can even do this if you're not using alkyds. The thing about oils is that you can actually layer over and over and over again. Now, if you're not using alkyds, if you're using just oil, linseed oil and turpentine, I swore I'd never do this, but I might be trying this here with some homemade mediums, just because I'm just so inspired by what Ben Della Barca came up with here when he was working in studio. So if you're doing that, you do want to observe the fat on lean principle. You're adding fat to your layers as you build your painting up. So you want to put fat layers on top of lean layers. Lean by maybe stripping it back with a bit of solvent. But again, I'm not a fan of using too much solvent in my paint. I really don't like using any at all. But just a little, so those top layers are a bit fatter. Then you'll get good adhesion. You'll avoid things like crazing, cracking, crawling, disadhesion. I think you are. Do you need to scrape off before changing if the dried paint is thick? I would like the I would like to have a bit of that texture showing through, and I'm even going to say something else here. I was talking to my buddy Dana, right, about Hans Huyssen, who's one of my favorite painters of all time. Australian artist, German-born Australian, based in Hahndorf in South Australia. When I saw the original of Droving into the Light, it was life-changing, absolutely life-changing. And I was blessed because I lived in Perth for many years, and I would keep visiting this painting. And the thing about Huyssen is, you know, he worked on that painting in particular for several years. And he just kept chipping away at it. Chipping away, chipping away. He exhibited it, took it back, kept working on it. It didn't sell, didn't reach any favor with critics or his buyers, but just kept working away, working away, working away. And then it eventually became, the result of all that toil, eventually became one of his most iconic paintings. One of his, if not the most famous painting from Huyssen, up there. And it's one of my favorite paintings ever. Now the reason I mention that is because he had trees that he was moving, just like I've moved here, but you could see the ghost of those trees with some real ridge lines. And there's something about that that I really love, because when you look at the painting up close, it tells that story. You can see the story of the layers and the years that he put in, and his decision making of how he shifted one thing to another. He didn't trim or sand down those ridge lines. He left them in there. Evidence of where he had been. I don't know. It's something about that that I love. Now, how am I using this fan brush? Well, you can see here, I want to show you this technique up and close. I'm continually reloading my brush. It's going to take some paint, all right? Burnt umber, ultramarine blue for our darker shade of green. Now, that's pretty dark, isn't it? That's pretty black. Let's add a little bit of transparent yellow oxide, a bit of transparent red oxide, some Flemish white to it. Let's get in here with a little bit of chromium green oxide, very opaque, very nice color though. Now we got a nice dull brown green, but we got some thickness to it. Roll that paint off the brush. Now we're starting to get some accumulation there. Can you see the sheen and the glisten off that paint? Okay, roll that paint off the brush and then come along and pick it up with those bristles. Now I've got a heavy accumulation along the fronts of those bristles. This is disgusting. Ugh, look at that. Can you see? Is it autofocus on? Come on, focus, focus. No, you can't see. Okay, we'll take my word for it. Now, as I come through, I just want to be rolling that brush across the surface, creating these random patterns. Don't paint leaves. That's the trick with forest painting. Do not paint leaves. Don't you dare. I will come to your studio and slap that brush out of your hand. I will. I'll get mean. Save the leaves for the end. You will paint some leaves at some point, but this ain't the time to do it. Now's the time to paint groupings of leaves and shapes. Now we want to think about contrast. So now I'm going to work with a different fan brush, twisting, poking little holes, adding another layer of green. I know I want to have some lightness here against some of this. I'm not worried about light as such. I'm just looking for an interesting pattern of shapes between my darks and my lights. You'll get up close to this painting and be like, yeah, it's just a mess of brushwork. Well, good. Let's have a look at our reference. Y'all don't believe me, I know it, but let's go over to our reference here and let's just stop for a second. What you're seeing is something like an interference pattern, a random assortment of shapes, of darks and lights. Why would we be painting leaves? They're just shapes. So let's get it thick. Let's get it chunky. And so you can see what I'm doing. You can scroll back a bit to the video if you need. Tara's got a question. Close enough, thank you. Okay. Hey, Johan, I would love to paint Iceland. I would love that. What a great subject. Okay, I'm getting on a plane. Let's do it. Tara, the artist, excuse me, coffee went down my windpipe, hang on. Excuse me. The name of the artist is Hans Heysen. German-born Australian artist. Hans, H-A-N-S, Heysen, H-E-Y-S-E-N. Hans Heysen, based in Hahndorf, South Australia. Painted beautiful paintings. Driving into the Light is one of my favorites. But he really did a lot of subjects around the Flinders Ranges. Brashina Gorge, Willapina Pound. Amazing old gum trees out in that area. So Hans Heysen, look him up. Thank you, Dickie. Thank you, Francis. And Sam, you've been to Iceland, Samuel Earp. Bro, paint some Iceland. Was this before you were an artist? And you know, did you get reference material? Please tell me you got some reference material, bro. I'm so stoked my brother Samuel here is in the chat. I'm really stoked you're here, man. I miss my buddy Sam. We used to talk quite a bit, but we're both so busy now with dad life and each of us running our own online operations that I rarely get to chat with you. So I'm glad, I'm blessed you're here in the live stream. Thank you. But when I get to Wanaka, Sam, we got a spare room, man. We got a spare room. You guys come on over. Let's go and paint my tookie. Hey, I want to take Sam. I want to take you to the French Ridge, as well as Aspiring National Park. We've got to paint Aspiring from the adjacent peak. That would be cool. Now, this is another brush that I'm ashamed to say that I have not been using until I stole it from Ben Della Barca. And this is an extra long filbert from Rosemary & Co. The thing I love about it is that when you flatten it down against that surface and you start applying strokes, it's got a beautiful flex to it, and it gives you this painterly mark that it just seems that the normal long filberts, it's a little bit more of a struggle to get the same type of mark. There's a randomness with that extra flexibility that I love, but you can pick up a lot of paint. I'm using this as a bit of a spatula of sorts. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a bit of a heat that comes through some of these broken logs. That rotting wood is a rich red color, particularly if it's caught a little bit of light. I'll add a couple little marks there. But I'm glad we've chopped that tree off. It was leaning too far over. It fell down in the forest. It's now rotted away. See it, tree. Ultramarine blue, burnt umber, bit of liquid impasto. Now, when we're creating a pattern within our painting, we can create this order, evenness, and repetition in a very unnatural way. We talk about this in our critique videos. I'm going to be talking about this in the upcoming composition course, which I've started writing now, and I'm very excited to share this with you. But this is where we're going to really nail down those 5 do's and 5 don'ts. But one of those, we do want to use repetition, but we don't want to have anything that resembles what I call aberration. So like a bit of something that just doesn't quite fit in the landscape. And the reason it doesn't fit is because it feels manufactured. It feels artificial. So that tree there is fallen over. I'm not thinking too closely about what exact combinations I'm using here. I'm just, right now, really what I'm going for is just getting a bit of texture, a bit of paint out on the surface, build up a bit of tooth and body to that painting surface. It's going to work beautifully with the second and third layers as I add detail. That texture can create some really natural looking patterns, perfectly suited to painting a forest scene like this. But I don't want any long strokes, parallel strokes, even strokes like I'm painting the side of a barn. So there will be none of this going on in my painting. I won't be painting a tree like this. Okay, it's short marks, twisting the brush, change direction, create some texture, create some surface. Again, something about looking at old masters' paintings. Right? Go into the museum, get up close, get your iPhone out. Make sure security's looking the other way if you're not allowed to take pictures. But get your pictures of these old masters' paintings. I'm going to upload a library of some of my favorites on the Academy. I'm going to do this. So by looking up close at some of these paintings, it's a study that you'll never match any other way. You've got to look at original work by old masters. Now when we get up close, look at that surface. Oh, come on. I'm all about it. QQQ from Andrew, lots of questions coming through. Now we've opened up the live stream to the mailing list, I'm sure. That I'm seeing a lot of new names here, which is awesome. We've also put it out to Studio Tier 2. Just to give you an idea, a little bit of a taste of what the Academy's like. We do this every single week, well, except for the next month, so I wanted to share the last live stream of a little while with you. But you can go back and watch all the replays. That's all in the Academy library there. But this is for our Academy Studio, our Academy VIP tier. Those are the special, elite few who have access to these live streams. So if that sounds like you, if you really want to go a bit further with your painting, that's what we do here, is we unlock these things. You ask questions, we answer them live, and the thing is that we can drill down on some of those things that you're struggling with. Now, each week, it's a different subject. We're painting something else. I'm working on projects here, or I'll start something new. Often those demos will get finished off in the studio at another time. But there's always loads of ground to cover. So if you've got something out of this just so far, actually I just picked up a little technique there, a little tip. Well, imagine combining that, scraping together all of that week on week on week. You're going to be building a knowledge base that is just going to be very beneficial to your art journey. Guarantee it. So welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. So if you got a question, QQQ, if I missed them, go ahead and ask them again like Noah did. I'm going plein air painting soon. Do you have any tips for me? Things that I should keep in the forefront of my mind while outdoors? Yet Noah, go and watch a few of those demonstrations in the On Plein Air library here on the Academy. But yes, I do. You don't need as much gear as you think you need. Choose 4 or 5 of your favorite brushes. Make sure you got something in there for a little bit of detail, but have plenty of bigger brushes. I recommend for painting plein air, use a bigger brush than what you feel comfortable with. This will force you to focus on economy of brushstroke and using paint. This is something that you're going to want to have when you're painting plein air. You want to have decisive marks, expressive marks. You'll be moving faster that way. Limit your palette, Noah. That's the other thing. Limit your palette. So I don't have my full extended palette of what you see here when I'm painting plein air. You can limit it down to 6 to 8 colors. Often when I'm painting plein air, I've got about 10 tubes of paint that I'm taking with me. But I take little tubes. Like I will not take, unless I'm going in my truck, I won't take a tube that big. I'll take my little 40 mil tubes, like this. So the other thing as well is I would highly recommend reducing the size of the panel whilst you're increasing the size of the brush. So brush to panel ratio goes way over in the other direction. So bigger brushes for smaller panels. You'll get through them quicker. Again, you'll focus on economy of brush stroke. And that's what I'd recommend. So with some of these lines, by the way, we got some of these heavy trunks going off the top. I'm going to break them with branches and leaves that have come out in front. Do you paint some light in the sky in there later? I can, Don. I can. We'll probably do a little bit in this session. Now, often I'm blocking in painting. So during live streams, you're not seeing paintings in progress like this one. Often in live streams, we're doing block-ins. But there's something nice about carrying on with this project. So I wanted to share this one with you. This is part of our tree course, of which I've got large thicket on the go. You've got part 1 of that in your library right now. You can see the block-in of that one. You can see where I've made some major compositional changes. So it's different to the little study that I did about a year ago. But we've got the Autumn Road, our Drossen Street. I'll show you that. We'll have a little bit of show and tell at the end of this. I'll show you some of the paintings that I'm working on at the moment that I'll be finishing off from the home studio because I'm out of time. I run down the clock on this one and I got to pack today. Like I have to pack today. I've got 9 days and I haven't even started packing yet. And have you seen how much crap I got in this space? I mean, ask Sam. Like there's that much crap in this space. I've been hearing your voice while painting lately. Sorry, Lori. I can recommend a therapist. Where are you based? Change of the brush direction. Yeah. I had so my assistant Megan. She's like, you could do voiceovers for books. I'm like, no, don't start. It's. I've had a lot of people tell me recently that they fall asleep listening to my voice. And I'm like, what? Thanks a lot. I'm glad that my material puts you to sleep, but I'm not sure that's what they meant. But they're like, oh no, it's kind of relaxing. I'm like, okay, cheers. Maybe some of that painting knowledge is going into the subconscious mind. I hope so. Should we do a Tish Academy meditation app? Should we? I wanted to ask if you could draw Steph 1 for your next head challenge. I'm working on that now and we'll love to see how you handle it. Heidi, I might just do that. Would you go ahead and DM me which one is Steph 1? Which one is that, Heidi? I will be drawing Stephanie again, absolutely, over and over again. I've got some great pictures of Stephanie. Neil Crayman, hello, Neil. Andrew, it's pronounced Ardrossan. It's a Ardrossan. It's a town in the west coast of Ayrshire. And Neil, you know, the town of Lawrence was designed in Scotland. So that all of the urban planning was done in Scotland. And you look at the town, the way the streets are laid out. You'll have streets like Ardrossan Street. I'm going to say Ardrossan because that's the way the locals pronounce it, right? We're here in the South Island, buddy. There's the way they pronounce it. So how do words get twisted? Well, this is how. So the road, you'll notice it's a straight road that goes all the way through the town. You can find this in Google Maps, and then it just stops because the planners didn't take into account, oh, there's a wee mountain there, you know? It doesn't fit. Yeah, so Marley's has been getting sleepy watching the Kimberley and Milford Sound. All right. Yeah, Noah falls asleep too at some of the... Okay, fair enough. I get it. I'm going to try not to be offended. I'll try. No promises. So one of the things that's going to help us drive this texture and create a sense of this light that's filtering through the canopy, that's something I'm, again, very excited about, is little pattern interrupts. But we can't have that light if we don't have the dark first. We've got to have a mass of dark down there first. So don't be afraid of going too dark. Now, this is one of those lessons that I learned when I was looking at original paintings in museums. You learn that the old masters, goodness me, they were dark, but they had this amazing ability to capture light, didn't they? Amazing lighting effects. How? Well, it comes down to contrast. You cannot have the light without dark. But it's not just dark. There's gradations to this. There's variations in this. So our value structure is really important. This is why it's so high up on that list of considerations. I put it at number 2 of our list of 12 considerations of representational painting. If you haven't heard me talk about this, we only have just a few little tricks up our sleeve as traditional realist representational painters. There's only a handful of things that we can do. We can only do so much. This isn't three-dimensional, but how do we get it to look three-dimensional? So there's value, there's contrast. This is something that will help us create that three-dimensionality. Now it's like this. The first 4 things that I have at my disposal, and I talked about this at the first part of Larch Thicket and a lot of the other demonstrations. But the first consideration is what? It's the drawing. The drawing, the line and the shape. These are considerations of our linear component to our painting. It's about the linear quality. What is our drawing doing? Line and shape. And the second thing, value. Now I put value over color and over any other compositional consideration, edge, anything else. Value. It's a line and shape. Our drawing first, and our drawing really notes what's going on, where are our major darks and lights. Value's king. I put it at number 2. You're like, well, why is it value number 1? Well, because we've got to know where it's going. We have to draw it. So we need that linear aspect first. But after that, value is basically reigning supreme over everything. Then it's color. Now we can be off with our colors, but if our values are just so, then we're most of the way there. Now let me see, I missed some questions here, so and we got a few more in the chat, so if I miss your question today, apologies, but one of the good things about the Academy is you can send me a DM at any time. Various places, but it's not often, there's a lot, but I do read my DMs on the Academy, and it's me that's responding to those. So hit me up if I miss your question, if you've got an important question, if you're working on a project, if you're on struggle street with that project, you just need a few pointers, that's what that's there for. So no worries. And you can also upload images to those messages too, so you can show me the painting that you're working on, and we can talk from there. Okay, did I cut out there for a second? Frozen. Okay, back. All right. Camera's still recording, Danielle. Yeah, still recording here. All good? All good? Well, it's the internet, so expect a few little bumps along the way. We might hit some turbulence. We are flying currently at 37,000 feet. If you see the seatbelt sign has been illuminated, return to your seat. Stow the lead white in the overhead lockers. Oh, shut up, dude. Yeah, okay, I will. I'll get back to painting. I just love the pattern, though, that you can get by rolling that brush. Rolling. Let me zoom in again and get a little bit higher up. Rightio. Just make sure that's nice and focused. There we go. All right. I like the shirt you're wearing. Who makes it? This is a Kathmandu, I think. I think Kathmandu's New Zealand brand. Don't know why they call it Kathmandu, but Kathmandu. Yeah, it's kind of cool. In winter, I normally wear merino here in the studio, but my merinos were being washed. So, hang on, got a cough again. 1 second, Linda. I had this, I had to skip a live stream. That's why I was hoping to hit 100 by the time we moved to the new studio. 100 live streams! So from the new, maybe even the home studio, we'll hit 100. But I had to skip a little while ago because I got this stupid cold, and I normally don't get colds, but it's lingering. Now I've got this annoying cough still. Everything else has passed, but just this annoying, stupid cough that just won't leave me alone. What greens and mixing the mini tips? Lori, yes, let's talk about the greens again. We're going to go here with a little bit of transparent yellow oxide, burnt umber, transparent red oxide, mix into that some ultramarine blue, a little bit of that liquid impasto. Now, that's a pretty earthy, grayed out green. It's a very dull green. It's very muddy, you could say. I'm going to mix in there a little bit of cobalt teal. I don't want saturated color. I want deep color, but not saturated. I want a dark tone. I want something cool, slightly dark, slightly cool, but very, very earthy. Now think about it this way. What's the special thing about this painting? Well, I hope it's going to be the light. I want the light to just come exploding out of this scene. If we're going to have light, the only way that we can communicate that is with dark and contrast. But there's something else about the light. It really brings out the color of the mosses and the greens. So I want that light to not only be bright, but I want it to be saturated. I want it to be chromatically rich, high key, high chroma. So in order to have a chromatically rich, bright color, what's really going to set that off is something dark, dull, and desaturated. So you'll be looking at these greens going, actually it doesn't feel that nice. that green, that rich. But here's the thing. If I get a really intense green, let's go ahead and get some Hansa. I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium lemon to that. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of cobalt teal. This is a really rich, cool green, but high key, high chroma. You see the intensity of it? And let's just add just a spot right there. Notice how much that stands out. So it's about contrast. Will we use that color? Well, probably. I think I'd probably use it down in here. I think I'd probably bring that color out in here where we're going to have some of that light coming through. So that will work. But it's about creating a contrast. It's about creating a relationship. Susan Brown, can I don't understand your question. Can you please rephrase that and really spell it out for me, please? Okay. Jan, fantastic question. So again, there's air perspective. So I call that atmospheric perspective. How do you recover from that? Well, you recover from that the same way. It's about relationship. So one thing that we need to bear in mind is that this tree here is further away than this tree here. But what Jan's reading is that currently it's darker, so it's coming further forward. Correct. However, the value of this dark is still a couple of shades lighter than the deepest black that I can achieve, which is going to be reserved for down here in the immediate foreground, only in deep crevices and recesses. Pops of black, not black out of the tube, a mixed black. Now, if there's a difference between those two, we're going to get some receding. But because it's over the top of the blockhead and you're registering that relationship, yes, that value is darker than that value, but not for long. So what I do when I'm blocking in, you'll notice this pattern. I start with whatever's furthest away, not when I'm working plein air, just here in the studio. I start with whatever's furthest away. I work my way forwards, and I'm building into that range of value. The lights are getting lighter, so these highlights are going to get a lot lighter than whatever's in the distance, and the darks are going to get darker. So you extend that range in your immediate foreground, and you'll immediately get that depth. Laura, M13, how are you, Laura? When creating foliage in the background, do you have any advice for stopping it looking too muddy while painting wet and wet? Yes. Laura, you want to stop applying the brush. How do I say this? You want to continually reload the brush as you go. It will get muddy. And let's be honest, there are some colors here that are kind of muddy. But I don't want to smush the paint in with the next stroke. I don't want to blend. I want to apply. Now, what is blending? Now, sometimes we do want to create a nice soft edge, particularly important with painting portraits. But here, there's a sharpness to some of these marks, and I don't think blending is going to be an appropriate technique. But I will get blending if I continue to just work the brush over the surface without reloading it. Currently, I'm working wet and wet. I will get some painterly techniques, but I don't want blending. And that blending, that can create mud on the surface. So I'm just trying to create some broken, uneven patterns working in that fashion. Does that make sense? I feel like I was just speaking a bunch of words at you, and that didn't math. So just let me know. Good questions today. Really good questions. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far, as much as I'm enjoying your company. Thank you for being here in the studio with me. I normally don't work on a Saturday, but because I was away this week, I had to fly up north for a couple of days. I thought, no, I've got to, I'll miss you too much, and the last live stream from the studio, so I've got to be with my people. If I'm an artist on a budget, can I afford a roll of Belgian linen? What would you recommend as an alternative? I'm using, I keep saying Belgian linen because I used to paint on Belgian linen, the Classens, but I've switched to Bel Arti, which is Italian, and I get it from a supplier in Melbourne, Australia. It's actually, by the time I ship it from Melbourne, I get it for a cheaper price than what I could get it for here in New Zealand. And I buy it on the roll, one roll at a time. That's a really economical way of going, one roll at a time and stretching your own. Because yes, a little bit more upfront cost, but the cost per unit goes way down if you do it that way. And I paint a lot of paintings, so it makes sense to have a lot of meters of material here. I've just ordered another roll, which is inbound. And so I'm really excited to receive my Bel Arti here any day now from Melbourne. I got the 42 OP coming in. That is the fine weave, triple primed. But if you don't want to spring for the linen, you don't need linen, Marlies. What you could go for is a primed canvas and just stick it on a board like what I've done here. That's linen on board. I like that tree. I like that tree. I hope you like that tree. Do you like that tree? That's a nice tree right there. Another little sapling growing up between them. Okay, says Marlene. Okay, great. It's Saturday here in New Zealand. That's right, Lorna. It is Saturday in New Zealand. I'm not sure how that works on the flat earth, but it does somehow. Might be Friday night for you if you're based in the US. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out a little bit of ultramarine blue here. I just worried people with my statement just now. Maybe I'm trolling. Maybe I'm not. QQQ, sorry, you said in the new studio your approach is background to foreground. How do you approach when plein air? Suzanne, fantastic question. Let me get out some ultramarine while I answer that question. I was really sticking to my guns for years, and I was continuing this method out in the field. And I was repeatedly getting my butt handed to me. Because what was happening is the light was shifting so fast painting plein air that I wasn't able to capture it in time, because by the time I had finished my background, made my way to the foreground, it had already changed. It was a different scene. What was I going to do? So I was working alongside some great plein air painters like Samuel Earp and John Crump, and I was like, you know, you really ought to key in those values, lock in those values in that light first before you start painting. Any details or going to the background or doing any of that stuff, you know, duh. And I'm like, okay. So I tried it, and immediately I had a much better result painting plein air. Immediately. And then in years after that, I started talking to Joe Paquette more and more. You know, I consider Joe now a really good friend. I'm blessed. He's just been such a great mentor in a lot of ways, but just a lot of fun to talk to. And I'm excited to be doing some stuff with him at some point in the future. When I'm in the US next year, I'm coming to the US, baby. When I'm in the US next year, I'm going to be visiting him for sure. Hopefully going to be able to paint with him. But he was talking to me about that, going, you know, you really ought to lock in those darks first. You got to do your values. What are you doing? I'm like, okay. Now, I can be locked in and rigid just as much as the next artist. I have methods of working, and I like to stick to my methods because it's predictable, and I can get a result that I can count on. But the issue is just sometimes there's another way, there's another approach. And for every artist out there, there seems to be another method. So one thing that I've done is I've just let go of the fact that I have a way and I always do things that way. What I'm really interested in is, what are the results? Show me the results. Okay, now I'm listening. Now, success leaves clues. Again, I go back to the old masters that we can see in the galleries and museums around the world, and you look at all these paintings, and for lack of a better word, we could say they are successful paintings. Well, what clues are they leaving behind in the painting surface that we can garner an insight from? Some of the things that I was seeing was a real strategic use of texture to create lighting effects. Simplification of composition, leading the eye. But a lot of my favorite paintings and painters, their work felt so three-dimensional, so lifelike, so natural. I know you're using nickel yellow deep. Are you still using nickel yellow regular to replace that? Yeah, so I've got the regular right there, John, right next to the nickel yellow deep. When and where in the US? May, and I'm not allowed to tell you where yet, Claire, but I will be going to the Grand Canyon. I will be going probably to Zion. I really want to get back to Zion. And there will be an opportunity for you to paint with me in the US if you want to. I think the question you asked me to repeat was, what plein air easel do you use? Which was a repeat of another question. Okay, what plein air easel? I use several. One of my favorites I lovingly refer to as the Crumpy. It was one of the last easel boxes that John Crump had made. I bought it off him back in 2016. Samuel Earp was there. I bought it off him in 2016. Paid him $900, which was pretty steep for me back at that time. But I'm like, I gotta have this easel. It's a beautiful easel. It's one of my favorites. This allows me to paint a bit larger, which is what I'm starting to do out in the field. Bigger brushes, you see. I also love, absolutely adore Alla Prima Pochade. Now, Alla Prima Pochade are not a sponsor, but I really love what Ben White is doing. And I've used his boxes for years. My favorite is my Blackfoot 8x10 easel box that I bought back in 2010. And it's still trucking, baby. It's one of my favorites. They are so well made, such good quality, expensive for sure, but hey, you get what you pay for. You want a box that's gonna last, and if you're into this thing, particularly if you're a professional, it's a beautiful box. You cannot go wrong with Alla Prima Pochade. My students, when they were here painting with me in New Zealand, just at the start of this year, we used a Meaden art box, 8x10. If you want a more cost-effective version, that's a good box. A little bit clunky, a little bit bulky, but carries all your gear. It's very nice too. I'm happy with the second layer of detail. We just need a little bit more discernment. What's going on in the background? I think that will come about in the next pass. I think right now what I'd love to see is a bit more going down here in the mid-ground. Not a cue. I've really been enjoying breaking down your observations of the old masters in the Academy Library and getting an introduction to painters I've never heard of. Nikki, shall I carry on with the master analysis? You enjoy that? So Terry was using the Meaden art box. What'd you think, Terry, of the Meaden? East Coast by chance? No, I think I'm going to be right in the middle. Now, I can go ahead and tell you right now, because they've just announced it, so I guess I can talk about it now. It looks like I'm going to be at Pace in 2026. It looks like they got me part of the lineup on Pace. So what is that? That's a plein air convention and expo. It's Eric Rhodes' project, and he does it year on year, and I got mad love and respect for Eric Rhodes, what he's done for plein air, bringing it back in such a big way, and he's created an amazing event. And a lot of my artist friends who I've only met online and never met in person, but a lot of my artist friends have been a huge part of that over the years and have highly recommended it. So I'm coming. I'm there. Excited about that. Nice cool green here with my fan brush. I did say it was going to be only fans, but no, we're using some filberts as well. Stop it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a doofus. You know I'm a doofus. If you're still watching me at this point, chances are you're a doofus too. But that's great. Loosen up. It's all good. We're painting pictures here. What I want is I want to break these edges, and I want a lot of the surface to just disappear into a bit of ambiguity. Just a painterly surface, breaking it up, twisting the brush. And then as I start to see shapes suggest themselves to me, I will go ahead and amplify something with a little bit of a cleaner edge, a brighter tone, a bit of contrast. But right now, just twist that brush and break up some of those shapes. So things disappear and vanish in a mess of brushwork, and then other things are found. Once a Rufus, always a Rufus. That's right, Linda. What's a Rufus? I live outside Yosemite, and I'm going to be, Christina, I'm going to be going to Yosemite. I'm catching up with my buddy Srinivas, and we're going to Yosemite to do some painting. Can't wait. I would love to get up to Fairbanks to see my buddy Scott, but I don't think I'm going to get up to Alaska on this trip. I'd love to go back to Alaska. But not on the cards for this next trip. Hope you do more master analysis videos. Will do, Deborah. Okay, Marcia, you got it. Thank you, Jean. How are you, Jean? Good to see you. All right, so I'm going to get under here with a few of these darker shapes, and I'm thinking about shadows underneath some of these fallen branches and logs. And you really lose a lot of these shapes under the moss. It seems to obscure these things, so you can't see what one shape's doing and the next one's doing. So it's okay to get a little bit random, but I'm just working my way through. What I want to try and achieve right here in this zone for you this morning, here in this session, is a look at some of that light. But I'm going to add another color here, because I want to highlight some difference. So when we're creating light, light is about contrast, light's about color, it's about value. So what's the difference between contrast and value? Well, value just refers to how light something is or how dark something is, but contrast refers to the relationship between a light and a dark. We can contrast in many ways, because you can also have a color contrast. So something that I want to play with more is not only that tonal contrast, but that color contrast between a warm and a cool. And you'll notice when you look at my palette here, it's dominated by warm. There's not a lot of cool. Now I can get the cobalt teal and ultramarine and phthalo green to look pretty cool. Quinacridone magenta, you can get that to look pretty cool. Cadmium lemons are pretty cool. You know, your whites with those can make something pretty cool. But the rest of it's very, very warm. And the thing I think I'm missing, which I'd like to play with today, I'm going to get it out now, and that is my phthalo blue. I don't often use phthalo blue unless it's a seascape, because I love phthalo blue shown through a curling wave. I don't even have phthalo blue out of the palette. I'm going to get my gloves on, and we're going to get out some phthalo blue. I'm going to stretch it out for a second. Let's get some gloves on. I hope you enjoyed the live stream so far. How are we doing on time? Hour and a half in. Man, time flies when you're flinging paint. Yep, still recording there, Laurie. I'll stop recording when I take a quick coffee break, but I think I might be caffeinated out wazoo this morning, so I'm buzzing. So I don't think I'm going to take a coffee break today. I gotta cut down. Terry Hirsch is watching. I don't want him to fuss at me. He might fuss at me. So I got two different blues here, and these are going to be fun to play with. I got phthalo blue green shade, phthalo blue red shade. What's the difference? Should we play with the difference between these two? I think we should. Let's do it. Let's geek out about color. I'm going to get the blues out. Okay, I got green shade right next to my green. So let's get that green shade out right there. Beautiful dark blue. Very intense, very punchy. And here we've got a little bit of red shade. I can immediately see something else coming through here. So that's interesting. Let's go. I got a little bit of a synthetic point round here. I'll use this filbert. Okay, I'm just over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my green shade and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of titanium. Interesting. I can definitely see that green coming through. Definitely see that green. Now here I got the red shade. Now this just refers to a color bias. Which way on the color wheel does it go? Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Ah. I think I just fell in love. Look at that. Can you pick up the difference between those two? It's subtle, but if you have an eye to see, there is definitely a difference. What are we going to go with? I love the red shade, but I said something about cooling things down, and the green shade might help cool things down, but I think the red shade's going to actually fit with my palette a little bit better. What do you think? Peter, you had to switch due to an injury. Man, it reminds me, I was talking to Pavel Sokov, probably about a year ago. He broke his hand. And he was like, dude, I got to paint with my left hand. What do I do? I'm like, paint with your left hand, dude. Just paint with your left. Green is so subtle. It is very subtle, Heidi. What do you think? What do you think? Green shade, red shade. Let's put it down to a vote. Let's put it down to a vote. What are we going to do? Green shade or red shade? Let me know. Come on, I'm counting on you. I'll take a little sip of water. I'll wait. Yeah. Okay, Peter's saying green, but I got 3 votes just there to red to green. Sorry, red wins. The green shade would look best in this piece, says Laura, but the red shade would make better shadows. Red, 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 green. A few greens, a few more greens coming through, but red's winning. Bit of each in the painting. All right, why don't we try both then? Tara, that sounds like a great idea. So, what are we talking about here with green shade versus red shade? Because some people are saying, look, I just see blue. What we're talking about is a particular bias with that blue. When we look at our color wheel, and you got to just use your mind's eye and imagine this. No, I love you so much. I'm actually going to do this for you now on the palette. Let's do it now. We'll do it live. Well, let's get it big enough so we can see it. A little bit of color theory here, okay? Let me go over here for a second. Let me go here and how can I edit this? How can I edit my camera? Okay, you're looking at it upside down, but it's all good. Let's just paint a little color wheel right here. Okay, this is our red. Right next to our red, we have our orange. Now this fella right here, his name is Roy Gabiv. You might have met him before. when I started doing this, I pasted one of these color wheels. You'll find out about this in the Oil Painting Fundamentals course, right? I'm adding to that course here shortly with a full color mixing course where we're going to talk a little bit more about color theory. But as soon as I started doing this, this absolutely changed the game for me. Red, orange, yellow. You're like, what is the point of what you're doing here? I'm getting to it. Will you just hang on a second? Just chill, Winston. Just hang on. I'm getting to it. I'm telling you right now, it's change your life. Change your paintings anyway. I don't know about your life. It might change your life. Change mine. Help me create more realistic paintings. Now, there's no particular green or blue or violet. I've just mixed some of these. But I just want to demonstrate a point here, okay? And we'll get a nice, nice violet color. I've used the same brush over and over and over again. So I've got some muddy color here. Come on, you'll forgive me that. You'll see what I'm doing. And a violet. There we go. Okay. Let's go back in. There. No, which one? That one and that one. And okay. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Violet then leads back into red, and you start all over again. So what happens? We're looking at this phthalo green, and currently our phthalo green is sitting, our phthalo blue, sorry, is sitting in that blue triangle at the bottom of the color wheel. And so where we have phthalo blue red shade, what we're simply saying is on the wheel, it's moving around the wheel in this direction. So again, just for your point of view, that thing, oh, come on. Just zoom in on it, will you? Yeah, I'll adjust the camera. You can't even see what I'm doing here. Let's go down here. Okay, there we go. So on that wheel, where we've got that little triangle of blue, that bias is pushing that blue in this direction towards the red. What's the green shade doing? It's pushing the blue in that bias direction towards the green. It's still in the blue. It's still a blue, but it's where on the color wheel is it? It's pushing red. So that red shade is going more in that direction. The reason I like it, my eye just gravitates towards some of those beautiful warms, and I try to create really nice warm paintings. But one thing I do need more of is cools, and it'll cool things down if I start going in that green direction away from the red. Generally speaking, reds and oranges and yellows, they're going to be a little bit on the warmer side, but you can still have a cool red, absolutely, a cool yellow, absolutely. Example, cadmium lemon, cool yellow. Hansa yellow, warm yellow. Indian yellow, warm yellow. A cool red, quinacridone rose. It's cool red. Warm red, cadmium red light. No sound? I'm okay. Sorry, I must have gone mute there for a second. Sorry, Francis, but hopefully I'm back. It looks like people are saying I'm back. Okay. Now I just got to adjust that. You know how long it took me to adjust that palette shot? So hopefully that makes sense. Roy Gabiv, put him on your palette, put him on your easel, and pay attention to Roy Gabiv. He won't let you down. He's very reliable. All right. Dwarves and Bilbo in the painting, Nikki. What do you reckon? Maybe, maybe, could be. I mean, they filmed it in this type of forest. So some of those battle scenes of the Uruk-hai coming through the forest and trapping, and this is where Boromir gets shot in the chest, right? If you saw the films, not everybody here is a Lord of the Rings fan, but if you saw the films, that was filmed in a forest that would have looked very much like this, and you get those clear understudies, would have been understories, would have been very relatively easy for Peter Jackson to get in there and film. Ooh, little bit of that phthalo blue, green shade. I've mixed in there a bit of quinacridone magenta, just a touch. And I've achieved something that looks like a phthalo blue red shade. But a little bit of that blue. So there, you got a bit of everything in this live stream. You got a bit of color theory. We talked about composition. This is what you're going to pick up watching the live streams. Is a lot of just tidbits here and there of knowledge, but also just wholesale, just painting projects. A lot of them from the beginning. Then we finish those off with some of those full tutorials. But hopefully you can see the value of just immersing yourself in something like this. And you can see in real time how some of these projects unfold. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying it anyway, because I love it. It's the highlight of my week. I absolutely love it. So if you're not an Academy member, go for it. Jump on in. Get access to over, well, I think we're approaching 400 hours of content now. I haven't added it up recently. But there's more content there than you can shake a brush at. So jump on in. And while you're there, 7-day free trial to try it out. So if you're on my mailing list and you receive the email about this, you can get a 7-day free trial, but there's a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. We don't lock you into any contract, nothing like that. I just wanted to figure out a way to make this easy for people. You sign in, sign out, sign up, sign off as often as you like. But my OGs who have been with me here now for years, let people know. You enjoying the Academy so far? You learning lots? Has it improved your painting? Are you painting with more confidence? Have you got more tricks to throw at the easel? Have you got more ambitious with your work? Are you experiencing a better edge when it comes to art business if you've been getting into those art business videos? Let the good people know in the chat right now how you're enjoying your time on Tisch Academy. Danielle's an OG. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. Now, I have my OGs here on the Academy, but Peter Zeller, over in Perth in Western Australia, is the OG of OGs. She was there, I'm positive, at my very first demonstration, my very first lesson ever at the Alfred Cove Art Society in Perth. She was there day one, ground zero. She was cringing through my first ever workshop. A workshop that was so bad my wife couldn't even stay in the room. She's like, if you're gonna die there, you just do it on your own. And Peter was there through it all. So blessings to you and yours, Peter. I'm so glad you're here. Really glad you're here. OG since 2016, says Danielle. Well done. Thank you so much. No cringing. Come on. Be honest. Be honest. A little bit of cringing. But that's where I got my start, back in Perth in Western Australia. Now this is a very blue, very cool green. I'm loving that. Let's break up the pattern. I'm going to wipe off this fan brush. And let's break up the pattern with some browns of the leaves that are going to accumulate between some of this moss. The Academy is full of super great stuff. Thank you, Danielle. Lots of learning. Watching live is very revealing. Thank you. Helped me tremendously. Thank you, Paula. Well, thank you, Lisa. So this year is going to be an interesting one. Towards the end of the year, something huge is happening here on the Academy. You might not know this, but something massive Something big is happening. Something big's coming. And that something big is we are now teaming up with other artists, not just any artists, individually selected and picked by yours truly, amazing artists who are now joining me here on the Academy as instructors to extend and expand our Academy offering. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I've had so many requests for different subjects. And I also artistically find myself in a place where I want to niche down into what I'm most passionate about as an artist. And that is big landscape painting. What I want to do is I want to paint New Zealand big and bold. And it's something I've been wanting to do for years. But I do get sidetracked with some still lifes and some portraits and various things, but I want to paint big, bold New Zealand stuff. That's my jam. That's where my heart is. So, and particularly landscapes around the Wanaka area. You know, flying up into the mountains by a chopper, getting dropped on top of a mountain, painting in plein air, and then getting picked up and going home. Taking that material back into the studio and doing something that's 3 meters across. That's where it's at. So I have found some artists who are amazing at portraits, amazing at watercolor. Something I don't do. I will not touch watercolor, but man, do I appreciate it. Amazing still life painters, wildlife painters. Now don't worry, it's not getting beyond a ridiculous number. The trick is hand-selected artists who are master level at what they do, good teachers, but varied subjects. As long as it's traditional realism, we've got it covered. And so that's happening here this year. But I'm going to give you a heads up. It means that in order to do that, we're going to have to build our own platform because the technology and the software does not currently exist to be able to do that. Now, I might be getting a little ahead of myself here, but we're already looking at some developers that we're going to be hiring here very shortly to help us realize this vision. I cannot wait to share it with you. I cannot wait. Now, if you're worried here by what I've just said, I wanted to give you a little heads up, but if you're worried by what I've just said, you're like, but I've signed up here because I want to learn how to paint from you. I'm still going. I'm not slowing down. I'm only gearing up, and there's going to be even more stuff, even more hours of watch time coming out of me. I am not stopping, so you'll be able to continue to watch what I do on the Academy too. So, yeah, exactly, Danielle. Be true, painting what you really enjoy. It shows in the final painting. And don't get me wrong, I love painting portraits, and I probably will continue to paint portraits. In fact, I've got a portrait that I'm really looking forward to do up in Christchurch. Jean, I'm coming to see you. So there's a few portrait projects that I'm going to be finishing off, and I'm going to be painting Hugo and Rachel again, and a few others. But it's just not going to be the main thing here. What is the main thing is how cool is that beautiful phthalo blue coming through. I'm loving that. I hope you are too. Oh my goodness. So nice. Yeah, there you go, Laura. There you go. Tamara is on the road to Quebec. Hope the camera is rolling. Oh goodness, you just reminded me. Let me go ahead and hit record again here. Here we go, second take on that camera. And I'll just make sure we're going here. And second take on that camera. Here we go, we're rolling. Nearly 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Hope you've enjoyed the live stream so far and you're coming away with a few little ideas Now you can see here that cool starting to come through, just starting to come through here. And you notice how warm that stripe of green right there is looking. I think we're gonna have a little bit of really beautiful, lovely, warm, lighter green coming through. Let's work on that now. All right. Not worried, says Lori. Sounds like an excellent plan. Thank you, Lori. But maybe it's too soon to announce this, but the plans are in motion, and we've already had our artist in residency from young Ben Delabarca. He's already come to the studio and filmed 5 demonstrations. We're sitting on the footage now. No, we're already moving. It's already happening. So I'm, as they say down under, stoked. Cannot wait. Now, speaking of masters and analyzing them, one of my favorites when it comes to forests and trees is Ivan Ivanovich Shishkin. Ivan Ivanovich Shishkin, Russian artist, 19th century, amazing trees. Tree master. Speaking of specializing, Shishkin just did amazing trees, but it seemed like he focused on them to the exclusion of all else. He might have done a few other things, but trees were his jam. And I love that. I have to, because I made a commitment to myself and you, I will be finishing the 100 Heads Challenge. I will see that through. I've made a commitment. I'm going to see it through and finish it. I'll be sharing that journey with you. We uploaded a new drawing time lapse this week. Hope you enjoyed that. Oh, no, Lynn, we're going to get them to hook up and do live streams. You want to watch them live, that's going to be part of it, right? Now, I don't know if they'll be going live as often as me, but I'm going to be doing weekly live streams. And in those live streams, if you want to see other subjects, I'm happy to talk to you about other subjects too. It doesn't have to be all landscape stuff. Now I'm just poking and dabbing at the surface, creating a couple of little leaf-like textures, but I'm not getting out my brush and painting individual leaves. I'm just creating a texture and breaking up edge. If I started ahead and ruined it 3 times, does it count as 3 or as only as 1? I ruined so many of them, Marlies, it counts as 3. It's not about producing beautiful work to sell. It's about just trying it and trying and trying again. Keep going. Keep going. Now, here's a fugly brush. This is an old trimmed dagger. I say trimmed because I hacked at it with a pair of scissors. But I want some nice broken marks here for some highlights coming through these trees. Transparent red oxide, a bit of Flemish white, why not? Chuck a bit of phlegm in there, nice and thick, there you go. And let's get a highlight against the edge of that tree. Pop it out with a bit of contrast. Bloody good, working in with that that really nice wet paint. The head drawing on YouTube this week was very cool. Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that. Now, to my newbies who have not seen me paint before, if we're just meeting for the first time, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for stopping by the studio here. I hope you come around again. I hope you've enjoyed it so far and you've come away with something to think about. I'm not wrapping up the live stream. Every time I go live on the Academy, it's at least for 3 hours now. I don't know if any of that light's coming through. Just a little spot of a highlight there. Now I had some pretty nice mossy color that we had achieved before. I got distracted by the tree. I was supposed to be doing highlights on the moss. We'll get to that. That's a really old trimmed fan brush right there. Getting some nice broken marks. We've got some cool grays on the back side of this tree. I think they'll be best applied with our extra long filbert. Right here, for instance, where we've got a bit of pale bark showing through. Get a little bit of that reflected light. This will give a cylindrical feeling to our tree. Now I might go ahead and let that dry before dry brushing on some moss textures over that trunk, but we want to keep it subtle. This tree's far away, further away than some of these foreground trees. And so we want to maintain that depth. Detail draws the eye, brings things closer together. So we've got to think about that strategically. Reserve the detail for the foreground, where you want your viewer to be really concentrating. I don't know about you, but I'm having a friggin' blast, dude. This is my jam right here. This is my favorite thing. Hanging out with you, painting pictures. Let's have a question. No questions? If I missed your question, please ask it again. Only 1 hour left. That reminds me I have a question I need to ask. Nikki, ask the question. Let's have it. It's going on midnight for me. Can't keep my eyes open. Lindy, keep that live stream going. And let's just, you can test it out. Does my voice make you fall asleep? Please comment on exiting lines of the tops of the trees. Oh, Danielle. Oh, gee, so good. So good. What a question. Love it. Get another drink of water here and talk to you about exiting vectors. What is Danielle talking about? Exiting vectors. You might notice we don't have any. The reference has some, but I've been doing some sneaky stuff here. Let me go back to the wide shot. You can really see from here. Let's go to this wide shot. Let me get rid of the palette for now. Now you're seeing the whole painting, pretty much left to right. That's the edge right there. Okay. So what do we mean by exiting vectors? What's a vector? A vector is a line of force, a line of sight. It's a line that can be either implied or really overt and really obvious. An implied vector is something that can be a point A to a point B, and visually our eye connects those 2 points. Like these two rocks here form a line just by in our mind's eye. We connect those two masses and we're traveling along that line. It's emphasized by that light coming through. But that's an example. Maybe not a great one in this painting, but there's another idea of a vector here. There's an idea of this vector formed by point A to point B somewhere out here in this composition. I might have a lot of light in that section of the painting there. But we're going to follow a bit of a path here with our opening here, our little trail stumbling around these rocks and these roots. But exiting vectors, these are lines of force, lines of sight that lead the eye off, exiting the composition. This trunk, for instance, forms an exiting vector, bang, going straight out the top of the painting. One of the things we have to do as an artist, now you don't have to do this. I've seen other, even masters just blatantly just have a harsh line going right out the top of the painting. That's okay. I try to redirect the eye in that case with a cloud, a branch, a tree, something, just to confuse these lines, break them up before they go off the edge. What does that do? It forces us to focus back within the bounds of the painting. When we're looking at this, what it tends to do, if they exit in an abrupt, harsh way, is we keep looking up and off the painting. Keep the viewer looking at this piece by redirecting their eye before it follows that trunk all the way off the edge. How do we do it here? We'll check out some of these darks that shoot out from these trees. So some of them will cross the line, but not in an obvious way, not in a harsh way. I'm going to darken the value of these little branches here because it stops this trunk before it goes off the edge. There will still be a line there, but it's just lessening, it's toning that down. I'm going to increase the light here so the gravity of this as a subject, the light shining on that bit of interest on the tree trunk, the gravity of that focal point outweighs any contrast, any abrupt exiting vector on the top of that painting. Same here, a couple of branches offshooting, so it redirects the eye before you follow that trunk and go off one way or another. To give it more direct dimension, are you going to place branches in front of the tree? The main tree, yes, it'll have a couple of little twigs and saplings that are going to break it up. I will do that towards the end, Arnaldo. Brilliant question. What do you do with your palette between sessions? Gwyneth, I clean it. I clean it. I don't use the happy painter. Put a QQQ at the front of your questions, please. That way I see them. Glad I caught that one. Do you use palette knife for great tree textures? I don't tend to paint with palette knives. Never say never. I might do it at some stage in the future. Look out, I might do it. But I tend not to. Well, this is a nice view right here. Isn't that nice? I'm going to go ahead and play now. We've got some of that cool green established. I'm going to play now with some of that warm green. First, I'm going to get a nice highlight along the front. Here we go. Get my mole stick out. Here we go. There we go. Why a mole stick? Just steady my hand for a couple of these strokes. Get some nice texture on there. Even with an old brush, you can create some nice fine lines. So yeah, kind of like that. All right, we'll come back to it. I will get out a, what brush was I using before? There it is. This is a very small pointed round, but I don't mind it. Maybe I'll reserve that for a second. I think maybe that brush and that brush are going to be the go. And now we're going to start adding a bit of light to this mossy ground. Lots of questions coming through. Will the foreground remain loose? It's all going to be pretty loose, Scott, but you know me. Those 000 ivory riggers are going to come out at some stage. It's going to happen. So it's going to be pretty loose, but I'm leaning in. I'm leaning in now to detail. What I want, it can look loose, it can be loose, it can be painterly, but I want it to absolutely look real. My question I'm going to be asking myself is, does it look real? Does it look like you're like far out? I think I'm having an experience right now. That's my jam. Now, if you could do that in a painterly way, friggin' go. Awesome. Chromium green oxide, lovely, warm green. With Hansi yellow, very nice, very warm. Mix it in with a little bit of that transparent yellow oxide, transparent red oxide that we had before. I gotta get the palette out here. I'm sorry. You gotta see what I'm mixing here. That's important. So transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide, Hansa, and chromium green oxide on a fan brush. trimmed fan brush, fugly brush, but just a little bit of warm with that little bit of cool. Oh, goodness me, that's nice. Oh, what good bloomin' fun. Let's get a real close up, get you a good look at that. We'll zoom right in. Maybe a little obscure for a live stream, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. Some people were asking about the Mossy Forest. It's something I'm really excited to do for our tree course. If you've ever wanted to paint forests, but you were having trouble seeing the forest for the trees, well then I hope this is going to give you those answers. Because it's good fun. It's good fun. I think the problem that we get into though, it's strategy. We just need a little bit more of a strategy. Bit of Cremnitz, bit of cadmium lemon, and a bit of phthalo blue green shade. Let's go that Flemish. Ooh, Flemish is much more opaque than the Cremnitz, but sitting somewhere between. Interesting. More experimentation needed, more tests needed. Now, can somebody tell me in the live chat, do you have access to the reference material? Was that attached to the live stream? If you do, go ahead and download those. Those are yours. You'll find them in your Tisch Academy live stream. All reference material is royalty and copyright free. You want to paint from those, you be my guest. Have at it. Enjoy. Geraldine in the house. How do you make a makeshift maul stick? A bit of doweling is a good way of going. And or I've seen a lot of artists just use a walking cane. You could use anything. But go to the hardware store and pick yourself up a bit of some dowel. And all you got to do is attach a block to one end, and then you could hook it on your wall easel if you're using a wall easel. Right. What I'm doing is laying down just a little bit more of that. We'll go a little bit of nickel yellow, regular. Just laying down a few of these cool notes. Cool green. Just on the tops of some of these masses, shapes, and forms, applying it in a broken fashion, feeling my way along, playing with the shapes. Hopefully that's coming through. Hopefully I'm not getting in your way too much and blocking the camera with my big bluff head. But really emphasizing the cool there and breaking up some of those strokes. What I'm doing now is building the balancing factor to our relationship of warm versus cool. Now back to that warm, I think we're going to have some nice light right there against that tree trunk. Maybe another little spot right here, just a touch. And definitely right here. Now that's only the base of what we're going to apply as a highlight here. Just a base. That's pretty dark, isn't it? I'm already well and truly... Oh no, it's coming through on the live feed, okay? Hopefully that's coming through. QQQ, I don't see reference material. Will it be where we go to watch the replay? Yeah, Kathy, so I'm gonna make sure I get that reference material up there then first thing Monday. That should have been uploaded, my bad. But if you do go back and find the replays in your live stream library, it would probably be attached to the first time that I painted this on a live stream. Go back about a dozen to 15 live streams ago, and that's when I would have done this one, I think. It was a little while ago. Not a year, not quite 6 months, but a little while ago. Oh gosh, maybe it was 6 months ago. Maybe it was a while ago. Come to think of it. Several brushes on the go at once. Lots and lots of brushes. Lots of brushes, all the brushes. So many brushes right now. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Burnt umber. A little bit of that phthalo blue green shade. QQQ, you can highlight the importance of stepping back, getting a fresh look. Well, what you just said, Don, it is very important to step back and get a fresh look. Was that my cue to go to the wide angle? We should do it. Let's see if it's working. Let's go to the wide angle. Yeah, enjoying it so far. Maybe these shapes are getting a little bit same, but we'll go ahead and break that up. Stick of bamboo, good idea, Barbara, stick of bamboo, but you want to have something that's pretty rigid. So use some stiff stuff, all right? Stick of bamboo could be good, but I find that the dowel that I use has no flex to it, if any. I have been using a Fred Whitson maul stick, and I think he was manufacturing them on his 3D printer, and they're pretty handy, but the plastic he was using at the time is so flimsy and brittle that I've broken every end that I've used, and he was for a while just sending me replacements, and I haven't actually asked him for a new replacement for many years. Not a sponsor, but just a good dude, just trying to find a way to make a painter's life a little bit easier. So Fred Whitson, I think it's called the Maul Fork. So look him up if you want to use what I've been using here in the studio. But again, hopefully he's done something to the type of plastic he was printing with, because it was very brittle, very, very brittle. If it was made out of ABS, maybe it would have been a little bit better. Right. Yeah, we've got a request to put that live stream in the chat. Put the link in there in the chat, please. If you find that link to the library, please. Thank you. Yeah, don't encourage me, Lori. I paint acrylics with Suzanne. Good one, Benjamin. Awesome, welcome. There are some acrylic painters here in the Academy, absolutely. All right. So right where I'd put that green, that nice warm green, just a subtle shift in the color. I want to do something else that will help that light come out just a little bit more. It's just something a little tricky, little bit tricky. I'm going to get a long filbert. I'm going to load it up with quinacridone red rose. There we go. Just a hint. Maybe a little bit of, what did I get there? That's pyrrole ruby red and quinacridone red rose. You could do this with permanent crimson. But I'm going to add just a pop of red right here. Just a pop of red, just a little bit. This will be optical color mixing. It's just a touch going in there, not much. And the reason I'm doing this is why? Why would I be adding red right here? I don't know, because you're crazy, dude? Why? Why would I be adding red? A little fleck of red, just a touch. Who was the portrait artist you mentioned earlier? Has material to go into the academy, and will there be reference material also? Yes, Heidi, he's not up there yet. We've filmed the demos, but it won't be uploaded until we relaunch in November, October, November, somewhere around there. Yeah. Bertrand, I did not understand. Do you leave New Zealand with your family? What's your next chapter? Yeah, no, I'm staying in New Zealand. I'm just moving 2 hours down the road. Complimentary color, boom, John Crater in the house. That's it. Complimentary colors, that's it, brother. Complementary opposites. So not just complementary colors, but complementary opposites. So I'm going to get out now a little bit of nickel yellow, a bit of cobalt teal, green it up. A bit of chromium green oxide. Back to that Hansa. Transparent, warm, lovely. Love it. Beautiful. Very light color. Look at that light, saturated, high key green. High key. And then right in here, just with my Shiraz round number 0. I don't often use a Shiraz round number 0, but I'm going to roll some brighter green into some of these spots. We need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So now you can see there's a difference in temperature. It's a warmer green. Warm light filtering through the trees in a cool forest. But we have some contrasts going on now. A few contrasts. What are some of those contrasts? Well, the contrasts are warm versus cool. That's happening. Light versus dark. But there's something else happening. Thick versus thin. And sharp versus diffused. Now you could do any one of those things and you'll create an effect. But if you do all of those things, then you'll have something that starts to just bounce and just leap off the surface. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit of that light coming through. Wait until when I share with you the full version of this, we're gonna have we're gonna do a few light trails coming through. QQQ, when you get settled into your new spot, will you be doing 5-hour live stream? Of course, Len. Of course. Absolutely. You know, I got you. I'll do every one of those every now and again. I would love to keep painting today. Often after a live stream, I'm so into it. I'm just like, oh, I want to keep going. But alas, I have to pack. I got 9 days to pack my entire life. All the art, all the camera equipment, all the computer gear, everything. I got 9 days. Good thing I got young Joe who's coming in to help me. Not today, it's a weekend. Actually, I'm gonna call him. Let's see if he can get over here and help me. Do you see some light coming through the trees, or is it just me? Have I just had too many coffees? What's happening with Mike? Oh yeah, no, Mike's moved on to Christchurch. Didn't work out. He's going in a different direction. It's all good. Happy days, all amicable, all good. I don't know about you. I'm having such a good time. Now that I've applied that with the synthetic round, it leaves a different kind of mark, doesn't it? It does. It leaves a different kind of a mark. So in a few of these places, like here, we can take our trimmed fan brush and we can just break it up a little bit, have some texture, work through some of that wet paint, and just don't go overboard, but just mess up a few of those marks. Break an edge. Oh, what fun. What fun. I feel like painting a tree. Should we paint a tree? I can't believe how fast time goes. Let's look at this tree. I think where I'd like to go next is look at this couple of trees right here. And we'll keep going. Looks great, says, thank you, Danielle. I see light, says Lynn. Awesome. Can we see full screen? Oh, there you go. There you go. How low was the light coming in? Well, pretty low, low angle. So we're getting some nice long shadows, but you can see from how we've indicated this tree here, and I'm gonna have to make a decision about where the exact light source is. Whenever I'm doing those, I'll give you a spoiler here, but whenever I'm doing the light trails, I lock the painting in place on the easel, wall easel, or standing easel. I find a point somewhere off to the side where that light's coming from. Now we can only do this in the 2 dimensions, so you're gonna have to really twist your brain to figure out how it works in the 3rd dimension. But one thing we can do is we know light travels in straight lines. I did this with the Milford Sound tutorial. I tie a string around that point. Sometimes it's a nail or a screw on the wall. And I simply stretch that string out and scribe an arc, and the string's out in this direction. And as I scribe that arc, it always points right back at the light source. So I can know where to draw those lines as they come through. One thing's important, and I see everybody screwed this up. Well, except for a few. Some of you are paying attention, but I see so many people having light that goes off in different directions, and it will always feel off. Even the shape of some of those angles, if you have it too angled one way or another, it has to be the right thickness of line and travel parallel, always pointing right back at that point, which is not quite parallel, but as you get far enough out, they look parallel. Anyway. Loving the variation. It's all about variation, Barbara. Yeah, Nikki, it's a little bigger than this space. A little bit bigger. Yes, so I've just answered that one, Heidi. String theory, says Laura. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so Nancy, you listened to the book, The $1 Billion Painter? Was it The $1 Billion Painter by Eric Kuski? Highly recommend that one. The $1 Billion Painter by Eric Kuski. He was Thomas Kincaid's head of licensing. Fascinating book, fascinating read. I'm not a Thomas Kincaid fan. I find his life and his journey fascinating. And what happened? How did it go off the rails? What led to his downfall, to his death, his untimely early death? You know, he was a human being. I'm not judging him at all. I find it really interesting when you start to dig deeper into what drives people. You know, there's something to be said for Thomas Kincaid. He is probably one of the most successful artists of all time, depending on how you measure that success, of course. I like to measure my life and my success in different ways. As soon as I walk in the door at my home and see my beautiful wife and my gorgeous little boy, that to me, it's like, yeah, there's nothing better than that for me. Nothing. Other people measure it in other ways, and that's okay. You do you. But the thing with Kincaid is he sold more paintings and more licensed products than any other artist. There were more Thomas Kincaid paintings on more walls throughout the United States and the world than just about any other artist combined. There are some really crazy stats in that book of what these people were able to achieve. And it wasn't just Kincaid, it was the team that he had behind him. Namely, the Kirby vacuum cleaner sales team joined forces with Kincaid and just was stratospheric, meteoric. First artist to be traded on the New York the New York Stock Exchange, and the first artist to cross $4 billion worth of sales. Billion with a B. So that's saying something. Had over 300 galleries, licensed galleries, and that's where a lot of the controversy came in, with his licensed galleries. But if you want a fascinating read about art business, Eric Kuski, the $1 Billion Painter. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Barbara, I'm going to be filming every aspect of this. Absolutely. The $1 Billion Painter. Awesome. Do you have an original Kincaid, or do you have a refinished print there, Lynn? If you have an original Kincaid, I mean, they're worth hundreds of thousands. Probably more now. I think for an original Kincaid, you could get over $1 million now for it if it's an actual original Thomas Kincaid. Excuse me. They sold a lot of jigsaw puzzles, Irene. They sold a lot of prints, canvas limited edition prints, paper prints, framed prints, signed prints. They were selling so many prints that Thomas Kincaid himself could not physically sign them. There were so many, 500,000. And so what they did is they devised a way to sign his prints with a machine, and in the ink there was a little bit of his blood, so you actually had the DNA of the artist. A little weird, but hey, innovative. He bled for his art. You have a mug, Peg. Fantastic. I have a one of 1,000. Well, it's still probably going to be worth something. It's called the Timekeeper. Nice. Auto pen. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think licensing is for me either, Lori. I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think it's for me either. I cannot work out what I would like to put my paintings on that wouldn't just completely ruin it and cheapen it. I want to honor the people that are following my work and collecting my work. and I cannot think of a mouse pad placemat coaster or tea cozy that I want my paintings to go on. A desk calendar or even a wall calendar. No, I mean, if that's your jam and that's the direction you're going in, no shame, no shade, it's all good. But I would like to maintain the value of the original, the exclusivity of the original, and it's just not something I'm going to be exploring unless I can find some way to put it on something. I've considered like big wall prints. Thought that might be interesting, but yeah, don't know. So to get the cylindrical shape of this tree towards the middle where the light will meet that shadowed surface, I'm going to have a darker tone occupy that middle zone. I'm seeing this over and over and over again in my reference. But then over on this side, a little bit of that reflected light. John, keep going, man. It's all good. A table calendar. Tisch calendar. Yeah. Yeah, I know. My nickname is Table in German, I know. Tischler means table maker, right? I've been told. Table maker. I think we were carpenters way back in the day. I make my own frames. Does that count? That red shade I'm starting to use for my deeper shadow here. All right. I feel like if I licensed my art, I'd be selling my soul. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, Noah, but you know, if you want to go for sales and money, there's a way to do it, but it depends. Does your art lend itself towards licensed products? And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I don't know. I personally cannot think of a way that I could do it. But I am interested in licensing products, but just not with my art on it. So I'll leave that one there. But I'm continually thinking of ways to diversify, because what I'm interested in is, you know, with everything going on in the world, and I've got a video on this coming out. I've just shot it. It's with the editor now. But a big part of it is anticipating change and diversifying. Building diversification within your business model. Very, very important. So for those of you who are pro or going pro, and you're like, well, I don't need to diversify. It's working really well for me right now. I'll be like, hey, go you. That's fantastic. Very blessed to hear that. That's awesome. It was going really good for me too for years, well over a decade, and then it didn't go well. And actually, I crashed and burned, and I lost everything in that. I rebuilt from the ground up. I climbed out of a deck that was crippling. It was pretty heavy. No end in sight, no way out. And I pivoted and I made another decision. I moved in another direction. So glad I did, so glad that all happened, because I learned a lot. But what it taught me was that you need to diversify. You need to think about alternative income streams, multiple income streams, and there's so many ways to do it with art. So many ways. Very important though. Very important conversation to have. That's where we talk about all kinds of art business stuff, is over in the Creator Activator, the art business course over on the Academy. So you newbies, if you're watching me for the first time, with your membership, you can check that out. The Creator Activator. And I also have a fun little segment we like to call Talk with Tish, where I have a few coaching calls that I've recorded with various folks, members of the Academy who are struggling with particular things. I've talked to Sue Cowan, Sarah Weissman, and to Daniel Beresford so far. I hope to book some more of those calls very soon, probably from the new studio. Or I might even be able to film those from the home studio. This old trimmed fugly is great for that texture. That beautiful bark texture. I've got some nice pale colors, revealing a few of these old roots that are worn and exposed. Yeah, thanks, Tara. But I think Tara, you know, with Kincaid, it's a cautionary tale. You can certainly learn from what doesn't work, and it could have been amazing. He could still be around, painting his paintings, and hey, you know, $4 billion in sales. Like his paintings might make you want to throw up your toenails. But the thing is that even still, there's something to be said for being able to move that much product. There's somebody buying it, and some people here in the chat. Some people have got calendars, mugs, and prints, right? And I'm not saying they're bad. It's just not my cup of tea. It's just not my thing. But it could have gone so much better. It could have been so much, you know, so different. What happened? What on earth happened? I think we can learn a lot from the story as artists. One thing that I personally had an issue with, I'll give you an example of one thing, because you might be going, well, come on, just tell us what you really think. Well, one thing I personally had an issue with is that with the selling of their galleries, they were licensed galleries. So Kincaid was able to get into these galleries, have other people representing them, but the people that were opening the galleries were paying for the pleasure, the privilege to show Kincaid's work. So they bought a license to use his name, and then were contractually obliged to stock those galleries with his work. But to sell these people on the gallery, what they leaned into was Thomas Kincaid's faith. He was a man of faith. And so they were basically using the name of Jesus to sell people who also had faith that this was some sort of divine mission, to be running a gallery, opening a gallery. And there's something about that I have an issue with, personally. I think the Bible tells us about using our Father's name in vain. And to me, that seems like a classic example of that. Now, I'm not one to judge. I'm not judging. I am not the judge. But I look at that and I go, oy, wow, okay. But they did. You read the book and they use that as a tactic, and it worked. And so when they saw that it was working, they just leaned into it harder. And as a man of faith myself, I've got to be honest, I have a little bit of an issue with that. But again, not that I'm judging, but I just look at that, I'm like, yeah, it's a bit much, man. Well, yeah, but again, a lot of this was done without his knowledge, Marlies, sorry, Nikki. A lot of it was done without his knowledge. Because he was working away in the studio, but all of this stuff was happening with his name on it from the vacuum cleaner Kirby salesman. Interesting story. So again, if you want to hear the story, it is fascinating. I've listened to the book now 4 times, and it's just such a fascinating book. The level of just what they were doing, it's ridiculous. Just at what level they were operating. It was just incredible. So, The Billion Dollar Painter by Eric Kuski. The Billion Dollar Painter. Yes, it does, Marlies, it does. Danielle, I like that. I like that. But he paints trees, right? He does paint trees. Well, I don't. No. I would have loved to just sit down and have a cup of coffee with Kincaid. I would genuinely, I don't have anything against him personally. We're all flawed. I mean, come on. Like, I'm not about to cast that first stone. I have my issues, my hang-ups, my things that I avoid. I'm not perfect at all. But again, and maybe I did sound a little judgy. I don't mean to, but I mean, you can look at something and go, well, clearly that doesn't work. And clearly that's wrong, clearly. But still, I don't have an issue with him personally. It's just, I think that, yeah, those tactics are a little bit, what I'm judging is the behavior. And it's not the, and he had a disease. He was a chronic alcoholic. And having had people in my family who suffered with alcoholism, it's a disease that steals everything from you. Just like a lot of other addictive things. And if you're wondering why I live my life the way I live, it's in reaction to my upbringing and a lot of the things that I saw happening in my family. I don't drink at all. I used to, but I don't. I watch what I eat. I'm very strict with my diet. I work out, I train, and I watch what I'm putting in my mind. I've seen a lot of appetites destroy a lot of people, so that's the sort of thing I watch. But anyway, we're getting way off topic. We're supposed to be painting a picture, but hey, I'm blaming Nancy. She mentioned the book first. Yeah, Elvis and the Colonel. That was interesting. Did I say not to paint a straight line on trees? Some trees can be straight. Some trees can be bendy. Too straight? That one's going to be straight. It's growing straight up. I don't mind it so much. But I can break up one of those edges. I can add a knot to it. Sometimes you can get a burl or a knot. It's a little bit of a kink in it. Maybe I'll add a little bit to the other side. Oh, go on. Bend it a little bit. Twist it up. Yeah, you were right. Okay, so it's not too straight. Straight-ish, but not too straight. And then maybe this one. I think I'm going to put a fungus on that one. Big old shelf fungus. You guys seen those? Those shelf fungi? I've heard I'm a fungi. So, okay, yeah. Never mind. You're a doofus, that's what you are, dude. All right, better, says Danielle. Thank you. That's fine, Jen. Thank you for saying. What is your taste? Or you're talking about Kincaid? Yeah, Marley's. I'll work on that. Okay. Yeah, all the time, Nikki. No one else is laughing. Funny guy. Wise guy. Get him out of here. So, right here. I think we need to work on that window now. I like that. I think we're going to work on that window. We're going to come back and add more to that once that's dry, tease out a few others, join up some of the shapes wherever it gets a little bit even, but right there, yeah. What is happening with the black at the bottom of the previous tree you were painting? It goes straight down and it's bothering me. The black of the previous tree, the black at the bottom. What, that? It's just a fallen log. Is that the one? That? Over there? I don't know. I'm going to let it bother you. I'm just going to let it bother you. It hasn't stood out to me yet. When it does, I might address it. Now, where these trees start to come a bit closer to us, we can see some more textures. There's some beautiful mosses and lichens growing on these trees, and some of them have got this beautiful golden hue. Get a little bit of that in there. My daughters call those fairy mushrooms, says. Well, what did you mean, Jed? Were you talking about me or are you talking about Kincaid? I'm dying to know. Come on, own it. Tish, it sounds like you're getting your dukes up. No, it's all right. It's all right. I can take it. I hear it all the time. I read the comments on YouTube. Cool. I was about to fight you. Jenna was about to go, oh, come on. How dare you say you don't like my painting? You must love it. You must. No. I know. I can have an ego about things, can't I? If you were wondering, hey, what's Tish's deal? That's it. It's just an ego. What an ego trip he's on. Greatest painting in the world, probably ever. Yeah, I got to stop doing that. I know I bug people. You should have been on the art tour. Ask Terry. One of my crew members, Robin, was like, she kept going, do the voice, do the voice. Then on the last, second to last day on the trip, I finally worked out how to use the microphone and loudspeaker in the bus. So as I'm driving along, it was like, yeah. Make art tours great again. Know what I mean? Just working with some of that texture on that trunk, getting a little cylindrical thing. The line going down into the green. This line here, is that the line? There's all lines going down into the green. That doesn't narrow it down for me, I'm sorry. But that there is the tree in front, and that's a highlight behind this tree that we're going to be establishing in front. This tree's growing in front. Is anybody else bothered by that? Well, I'll let you suffer too. The fallen log? Yeah, moss is pretty, isn't it, Lynn? Very pretty. Yeah, it was great, Terry. I really enjoyed hanging out with you, brother. Really enjoyed. So we do have another art tour happening in 2026. I cannot believe where we are. Man, has time flown. But 2026, we're running it again. We got 3 art tours back to back. I would love for you to join us, but we sold out. I warned you that it would happen. We sold out. When I put it out on the mailing list, that sucker sold out again in less than a day. So put it out on the Academy, put it out there to the people that had previously joined us. We had a waiting list as well. But if you are looking to join us next year in France, you might have an opportunity to do that. So we're going to be doing a tour in 2026 in the south of France, and we've got a waiting list for that one. And the waiting list will be the first to know about the tour when it drops. I've got a few hardcore people that are definitely booked in, that are definitely coming, no matter what. So those have been booked in, but if you want to go on the waiting list for that one, then hit me up in the DMs here on Tish Academy, and I will add you to the list personally. Yeah, I will be doing, I don't know if it's going to be a tour, Danielle, but I'll be doing some sort of paint out, some sort of event, some way that you can join me, come hang out, come paint. I don't know that it's going to be a workshop or such. I don't know what kind of way that we're going to be able to do that, but I'll figure it out. But you will be able to come and see me at Pace if you want to join us at Pace next year. And I haven't been told I'm allowed to announce where it's going to be, so I'll keep that one to myself. I know where it's going to be. It sounds pretty cool. So Plein Air Convention and Expo next year. Looks like I'm going to be there. East Coast, I don't know, Irene. Don't know. Maine, yeah, that sounds cool. Have a contest and give a tour away. Maybe a ticket or two. Maybe. You know, Jen, lol, completely verticals down into the green bush. Don't know, mind suffering. Verticals down into the green bush. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's what trees do. They're vertical lines. But again, if you look at the references, you might see something. Maybe it's just like a type of forest that maybe some aren't quite familiar with. I don't know. I don't know. These old fuglies are great for beautiful random marks. I'm loving it. So I'm getting some of these dark, dull greens down in here with their stones covered with moss. And we're going to put some sticks in here to go with our stones. How's that go? Sticks and stones. May block my composition, but moss is always fuzzy. So we'll figure out a way that we can make that work and make Jen happy, and Bill. Tish in France, sign me up, says Suzanne. Okay, you have to DM me on the Academy if you want to go to France and geek out on plein air while eating croissant, then you have to send me a DM on the Academy. Go ahead and do it now. Say, sign me up for France. I'm just going to warn you, though, it doesn't mean that there will be a ticket available, because we are working on a waiting list. So this means that you will be the first to know as soon as we announce the trip and announce the ticket price as well. You'll be the first to know, and you'll have first right of refusal to that trip. We do have a couple of people already totally booked in, so just bear that in mind. But I'm doing my best. But do, if you really must get on that trip, and we'll figure it out. But you've got to send me a message on the Academy, and I will go ahead and send you the details as they come to hand, the location. All right. Sam Larup is back. I was wondering where you went. Lynn, good to see you. You too. I'm gonna love getting into that painting, Lynn. You know what I'm talking about. I was thinking about that this morning. Right. Let's go wide view here. Mix it up a little bit. Let's see. Now, Jen, are those verticals bothering you still? Which again, I'm not too sure what we're into here. But let me know. No worries, Mark. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, so this dark line on the tree going all the way down, right? Okay. Okay, I think we're getting to it. I think I understand what you're talking about now. I think the only trouble is that we haven't connected that up, and I was thinking about making that a rock. I think what I might do is just make it part of the tree. And join it to that. And if I do that, then that might look like we've got a root instead of a rock. Better? Better? Let me know, Jen. I need to work on that and continue to sculpt that tree, but yeah, nice. Thanks, Jen. Where in the south of France? I can't even pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But south of France. Where is the DM located under the name? Where it can be found? So, Ludina, when you go to your academy, you go to your home page. And you're looking at home, you have a menu down the left-hand side. You will see my profile picture down that left-hand side. Click on my profile picture, then click the little paper airplane button, and then you can send me a DM that way. Okay? Right. Wow, goodness me. 5 minutes to go and the live stream is toasted. That's 3 hours. I cannot believe where the heck the time went. Time's fun when you're painting. Certainly flies too. Thank you for joining me in the studio. I got a little bit of show and tell for you. Show you some of the works that we're working on. Give you a heads up about what we're going to be talking about in the tree painting course, which is well underway. This will be one of the demos as part of the tree painting course. I've been recording on 2 other cameras, the palette shot and our wide shot as well. So you'll be able to see that. But at this juncture, what I might do is take this one off the easel, put something else up here and show you what I've been working on. But thank you for so many wonderful questions today. Really thoughtful questions, really interesting conversation as always. Thanks for being so awesome in the chat too. You know, one thing I love about this community that we've built is just how awesome everybody is. Just how supportive our community is. It really is a constructive, wonderful, beautiful, supportive place. People passionate about their painting, dedicated to their art, and just generally good folks who, without exception, just good folks who have got each other's backs. I could not have anticipated that the community could have been any better. So mad love for all of y'all. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new, if you've never seen me paint before, live stream or otherwise, welcome. I hope we have earned your company now. After you've seen this, you've been here, you're like, actually, I'd like to tune in and see this again. Well, get yourself a free 7-day trial. Watch some of the course material. I'm going to step away from the easel for a couple of weeks, but I'm going to bow out of those live streams for about a month here, and then we'll get back to weekly live streams just while I pick up my life and shift it to Wanaka. So I know I'm going to go through withdrawals too, you know it, but 1 month and I'll be back to you. Next live stream, I'll probably be coming to you from the home studio, because I don't think my studio is going to be good to go at that stage. Probably more like 6 to 8 weeks. But I'll stop frissing with my painting, and I'll show you another one. I'll show you what I've been working on. Okay, let's go wide view here. Let's take this one off. Right, I've got a cord that's barely attached. Here we go. Put this one here. Now this painting here, this is the reason I'm so upset with Scott Holiday over in Alaska, because I've run out of the dang white now, and what I really was loving are these trees. What am I talking about? Like these trees, this stringy, ropey, bloody lead white is so, it strings like mozzarella cheese, and you can achieve such fine lines with it. And I haven't actually been using, let me try and just find a way to focus on this. There we go. I have not been using my ivory rigger. I've actually been using these old Neef brushes that are like 20 years old, and I've trimmed the crap out of them, and just a few hairs left on the end to give me, and that's my finger, by the way, for scale, so very fine lines. These are larch trees. They're one of the only, well, Sam Earp's going to school me here, but I believe they're one of the only deciduous conifers. And so they turn a beautiful color in the autumn and drop a lot of their foliage in winter. And so you end up with some of these bare conifer trunks. So that's not a dead tree. It's just in its winter form. But this one morning, there was a hoarfrost, and everything was just caked in ice. And so this is the first installment of this tutorial you can watch now. It's now in your Tisch Academy library, so check it out. So this one I'm still working on. I've got to finish the detail in this foreground section, but I'm just I'm loving this one so much. I'm really loving the process. I'm getting some of that light to start to filter through those larch. I've got so many juicy close-ups of the detail of how we achieved that. Let me go ahead and show you some of that texture now so you can see some of what we were talking about here in today's live stream. Let's go over here and let me crank up that ISO as you can see here. But you can see it's just color upon color upon color, layer upon layer, building up that surface. You know, it is a little messy at first, but you start to tease things out of that mass of brushwork. Zooming out here, and hopefully you can see a bit of a sense of those trees. There we go, focused on that. So still working on the detail over on these edges, what we could call detail, and then working through that wet paint with some riggers to create those branches. Feels cold, it is cold. Oh, it's cold. It's cold. Okay, swamp cypress are also a deciduous conifer. They grow here in New Zealand as well. Samuel is always, like, he's my tree guy. He's my tree guy. So that's one of the tree paintings for our tree painting course. I'll show you the other one that just finished. Now, I'm not saying this to be cheeky, but I am saying this because often my demo pieces, it is often the case that my Academy students and members here end up with these demos. So if you were ever interested in acquiring, and I've got a couple of commissions here from people that are in the chat right now, but if you're ever interested in acquiring a painting, just hit me up. This one is available. I'm just saying that, and I'm not trying to give you the sales pitch, don't worry, but this is something that I've been working on for a while. It's a Ardrossen Street. I pronounce it Ardrossen Street, but Ardrossen Street, which is actually, for me right now in this small town of Lawrence, here in New Zealand, where I'm living currently, this is where Rachel and I would walk the dogs up and down, and then you're down on the main highway. That's the Beaumont Highway going through, but it's the most beautiful corridor of autumn foliage as that foliage starts to turn. This is now completely finished. Finished the filming, cutting it now as a demonstration to share with you as part of the tree painting course. One of the things I really loved about this painting, and what I'm so excited to talk to you about, is this right here. I'll go ahead and zoom in and show you. But it's how to use paint, how to use texture. Look at the texture there. But how to use texture to communicate that light. So this is just the leaves that are blowing across the street, and you can see the accumulation of leaves either side. Texture plays such an important strategic role in creating a sense of form, depth, light, and material. You'll notice here, case in point, with this little spot of sunlight in the foreground, you'll notice here how texture is used to get that to leap off. This is very smooth just below that highlight, but right there, that highlight, very thick impasto texture. And so the light that's shining on the painting physically hits that bit of texture and reflects out all the more. Yeah, I decided not to, Lynn. I decided not to. That's kind of just implied. I decided not to go there with this painting. And I'm glad I didn't. I don't think it would have worked quite as well. But here you go. Let's have another look at another little detail here. But the only reason I was mentioning that it was available is because often I'll get DM'd from folks on the Academy and be like, hey, I want that painting. And so most everything from the landscape course has ended up in the hands of our Academy members. And I will also work out, if you are an Academy member, especially, if you've been one of my OGs for a while, we can also, I can also work it out with you, so it's a little bit easier to acquire. So hit me up, let me know. But again, I'm not trying to give you a sales pitch, that's all. I'm gonna be putting this in my new gallery, hanging that on the wall if it doesn't end up in a new home sooner. 20 by 24 inches. Good fun, but I'm super stoked to share with you the process of how I created this one. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate you. There was a lot of leaf detail that went into this, I tell you what. The thing I love about this, okay, so we were talking about this in today's lesson. The thing I love about this painting in particular, in this scenario, the reference material I was working with, is that contrast. Light against dark, dark against light. It's all about contrast. And when you look at the painting up close, and even sight down the painting, I'm going to get a couple of B-roll shots of this to show you, but when you sight down the painting, you can really see the difference between those lighter passages, thick, thick, thick paint, and the darker passages, very thin, hardly any texture. So areas like this dark little bit, phthalo green, keeping it cool, warm Hansa yellow, some cadmiums coming through on those, and thicker lead white for these leaves. So you got a thick shape against a thin, cold background. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Kick your feet through it. Thank you, Heidi. So, and Jean, appreciate that comment too. The one thing I love about this, so in this scenario, was the turning. It was just at the turn of that season. This poplar got there a little bit ahead of time, but some of these other sycamores and stuff on the side, they're just starting to shift. So this is a lot of green still on this tree. It hasn't got the memo yet that it's time to turn colors. But what I love about that is the complementary opposite effect. We've got green to red as a complementary opposite. There's a lot of reds coming through in this orange in particular. But there's something else. There's a lot of yellows going on. And so what's the complementary opposite of yellow? Well, it's violet. The amount of violet I used in this background and these shadows, there's tons of violet through here, even in the fallen leaves down here, little pops of violet here and there. So in terms of color, we got a lot to talk about with that. It helps it create this three-dimensionality and this more of a sense of atmosphere and realism. So I'm excited to share that with you. Hi-ya, wow, what a day, what a live stream. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. That was a fun painting session. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me company. Appreciate you so much. Again, if you're new here, if you've not joined a live stream before, I hope we have earned your company now. So please join us. Sign up for a free 7-day trial. See what the Tisch Academy is all about. I hope you stick around. Again, you can reach me anytime via those DMs. Let me know. You want to come to France? Let me know. If you want to go on the waiting list for New Zealand, then there's still a chance. There's a lot of people that joined us on the last tours that were on that waiting list, and they've just gone in there in the nick of time. So don't give up on that one, even though it says sold out. We still got a waiting list in case cancellations happen. Okay? I will see you again in a month. All right, I promise I'm not going to cry. You don't cry, okay? Don't, and I won't, okay? But I'll see you again in a month. I'm going to miss you. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have you here as part of this community. Like, you make it just so worthwhile. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this journey with me and with everybody here. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. And I really hope that these tutorials, live streams, demonstrations, the lessons, the way we interact here, I hope this is adding color and knowledge and inspiration to your creative journey. But again, from the bottom of my heart, you are such a blessing. Thank you so much. And I will see you again in about a month's time. But I will be here in the DMs. You'll see me in the comments. We'll be uploading content. I'll be on my laptop working away in the background, packing furiously over the next 9 days. But I can't wait to share this next chapter with you. It's going to be exciting. I cannot wait. But I'm going to miss you like heck in the meantime. So God bless, and I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you for joining me. All right. So long.